One imagine taking a peaceful bath when three girls suddenly kick the door open. They are sent by the princess to wash his body and satisfy his deepest, secret desires. Is this paradise or the reward for his endless suffering? Rewind to a few months ago, before his world fell apart. His girlfriend of 5 years brutally dumped him because he had no future. She tossed him aside like cheap trash, claiming a loser like him did not deserve her. The devastating blow forced him to quit his miserable job and hide away from everyone. He spent his days in total darkness, doing nothing but playing video games. But Hyun Myung is the absolute top player of Pangaea, a brutally difficult game. It is so unforgiving that even friendly non-playable characters will stab you in the back. One single mistake means permanent death, forcing you to delete everything and start completely over. Every single quest puts your life on the line, but there is a twist. Each agonizing death actually grants you soul points to upgrade your stats. For years, our protagonist hoarded these precious points, grinding day and night like a madman. Now this absolute shut-in is sitting on a mountain of millions of points. He finally designs his first character, maxing out every single attribute possible. Suddenly the monitor flashes blood red, something unprecedented is happening. An eerie voice echoes in his skull, knocking him out cold right at his desk. He is not just playing anymore, he is physically trapped inside this virtual world. One wrong move means death. He wakes up to a brutal, stinging whip on his back. A guard barks that if he collapses again, he will be fed to the monsters. He looks in disbelief at the hopeless slaves marching in the sand. It is a massive cargo monster, and he desperately wants to believe this is a dream. The brutal mercenaries strike him once again, warning him to keep moving forward or die. He stumbles forward, finally accepting his dark, new reality. He recognizes this place. It is the brutal tutorial zone of Pangaea. Testing his theory, he quietly whispers the classic command, status window. To his shock, a system screen instantly hovers before him. It shows his attributes are all 12, alongside a massive list of powerful hidden talents. There is zero doubt he has stepped directly into the shoes of his maxed-out character. But then he spots a massive, inexplicable anomaly on the glowing screen. Normal stats cap at 10, so how does he have 12, and what are these traits? There is no time to ponder. The desert floor suddenly begins to violently shake. Hyun Myung has no clue, and even the guards look terrified. Over the dusty desert horizon, the colossal army of the Desert Queen charges directly forward. She arrives riding terrifying dragons, her presence suffocating everyone. But Hyun Myung freezes in absolute shock because he actually recognizes this lethal queen. She is the notorious Snake Princess, and a red system warning suddenly flashes before him. A main quest is triggered. He must survive this onslaught to earn rewards. If he falls here, his physical body in the real world will definitely perish forever. And get this, a massive wave of arrows suddenly blots out the entire sky. The helpless slaves cannot run or hide. Hyun Myung stands completely paralyzed. Death is staring him right in the face, but as a stray arrow grazes his cheek, Hyun Myung's mind snaps into focus. The shock unlocks his first hidden talent. It is the monarch's heart. Around him, blood spills as the battlefield turns to chaos. They came to wipe everyone out. Hyun Woo needs to break these chains, and fast. There are the keys. A guard lunges. In this brutal world, one strike is fatal. But Hyun Woo snatches a fallen weapon just in time, the moment his fingers grip the hilt. A strange power surges through the steel, the attacker rushing him. Does not even see the slave move. A cold flash and the guard collapses. Down in an instant, Hyun Woo has only one task: trigger his Master of Arms talent, which unlocked the second he drew blood. He cannot afford even a single mistake. More enemies swarm. He glides through them, shattering steel and carving a path. Limbs fly. A bald soldier thrusts a spear, but Hyun Woo shears it right in half. Catching the broken tip midair, he flings it straight into another guard's throat. Another down, a masked mercenary leaps into the fray, striking fast. Hyun Woo slips past the blade. Suddenly, his vision shifts. He sees something impossible. A glowing blue line, marking the perfect opening in the enemy guard. Another hidden talent. With a precise strike, he runs the man right through. He is a whirlwind of death, but nearly 500 soldiers still surround him. No one can fight a whole army alone without collapsing from sheer exhaustion. But mid-fight, a system alert flashes. Hyun Myung finds his sword proficiency has surged to level 6. His spear skill rapidly follows suit, instantly climbing to level 6 as well. Such growth is completely unheard of, yet he still faces over 500 armed men. Meanwhile, in a grand palace far from the chaos, the Serpent Princess stands waiting. A powerful, stunning woman demands to know why the demon expedition failed so utterly. Her words carry a deadly threat. The princess can only bow and confirm the disaster. The queen warns that if the central continent learns Faisalmer sent no support, they will carry the entire blame. A scapegoat must be found and fast. So the Serpent Princess must ride to the Kaltzman Desert and slaughter every survivor. No witnesses can remain. Every single trace linking them to this failure must be burned to ash. The queen offers an enticing reward for this task. Succeed and her curse is lifted. The princess kneels, accepting the terms. She swears she understands. This time there will be no mistakes. Now back in the desert, she waits for word of a complete massacre. Instead, a terrified scout reports that a single slave refuses to die. She cannot comprehend it. How is a mere slave holding off her entire army? But he is not just resisting. In reality, he is utterly breaking them. 500 trained soldiers are now completely paralyzed with fear before him. Even as he gasps for breath, a system screen flashes before him. Level 2, Hyun Myung is determined to live, and his talent clears his fatigue. This is perfect. Talk about a clean reset. Now he can fight forever. With her army too terrified to move, the princess must step up herself. Hyun Myung looks up. Standing right before him is Isabella Vaughn, the feared Serpent Princess. The system shows she is a massive level 8. Currently weakened by the curse of the queen, but even at level 8, Hyun Myung knows survival is highly unlikely in this brutal game world. You are nothing until level 7. Hit level 8 and you are a god. Only legendary bosses and faction leaders ever reach that devastating level. Standing against her is like an ant challenging a lion, but then something shifts. Something else catches Hyun Myung's eye, and no, it is not the girl's chest. A flashing system alert shows she is suffering under a curse. The woman dismounts, declaring his show is over. Hyun Myung feels her rising power with every single step. He must think fast. He is not the top player just for raw mechanical skill. He knows everything about this game's lore, as Isabella strikes a lethal blow. He bluffs, asking if she wants to be free of the queen's curse. Hyun Myung gambles. Everything on his words. The blade stops. It worked. The fish took the bait. Isabella stares, trying to understand how he could possibly know. She desperately demands to know who he is. Hyun Myung claims he is the star bearer capable of breaking the queen's curse and freeing her from this desert. Isabella is stunned. His wild gamble worked. The girl actually believes him. Hyun Myung knows the star bearer is a rare NPC class required to reach maximum level. The class is strictly for NPCs, so he is obviously a fake, but lifting the curse requires star magic. Since she desperately wants freedom, she really has no choice but to listen to him. He is completely sure of her desperation for one very simple reason: she is his own creation. Isabella von Derzian is a character he designed. She was a tragic hero he neglected because she spawned in the wrong starting zone. The queen's curse was a mechanic designed to trap players in that initial area at the start, but players are meant to travel and see the game's ending, traveling across the map to reach it, but he abandoned her here. Now Isabella glares at him and demands to know his name. Hyun Myung replies that his name is Randolph, setting his identity. Now let's see if this bluff holds. They stare, tension thick between them. Finally, Isabella turns away, choosing to postpone taking his life for now. But she warns that if he is lying, she will carve him up. She orders her guards to escort him, calling him a highly honored guest. The survival mission is complete. Immediately, the system calculates his rewards. Randolph stands up as the system announces he broke all records. Fortune's constellation smiles down, instantly boosting his reward quality. The warlike constellation of battle grunts in begrudging approval. He receives a broken golden scale piece, a hydrogen soul, and Michaela's sword. Randolph collapses to the floor, head spinning, barely believing he survived. Blinking, he checks his score, 220 total points. His achievements are set to be immortalized forever in the Global Hall of Fame. Later that night, Randolph relaxes in a luxurious bath, resting. He reviews his screens. That legendary hydrogen soul is incredibly rare, dropping only once since launch, while Michaela's sword is a powerful weapon. But he wonders what this broken golden scale fragment is, and what this crazy Synchronization between reality and the game actually means for him. Suddenly, the doors swing open behind him. Several beautiful chambermaids slip inside. They offer to wash him, but he requests they only rinse his feet. He wonders if this is already a test. The girls begin rinsing. Randolph recognizes them as Isabella's spies. Any slip means death. If the star-bearer shows absolutely no reaction, they will start getting highly suspicious. He forces himself to stay completely calm, trying not to react to anything around him. Suddenly, his eyes lock onto a maid's chest. Startled, he quickly opens his status window. His status window pops open, but there is something very different about it this time. He desperately wants to understand what this strange boundary between reality and Pangaea actually is. Another system alert pops up, announcing that his survival ranking has unlocked the log out feature. A way out, finally, but just then one of the maids calls out to him. Randolph can barely believe it. Gracia and I Love Mint Chocolate are players he knows. He used to party with them, assuming they had just quit when they suddenly vanished. But it looks like they were summoned here as well, and now he can actually leave. With the logout option active, he can finally escape. No more virtual nightmare. He quickly orders the maids to stop, claiming he must commune with the stars immediately. He warns that skipping this will drain his power, and the princess definitely wouldn't want that. The threat works perfectly, leaving one of the maids completely stunned and speechless. Randolph tells them to let Isabella know he will meet her once he is done. With his excuse delivered, the heavy doors to the private room finally shut. Randolph lets out a massive sigh of relief. Thank God his bluff actually worked. He was terrified of being stuck here forever. He is never coming back. He slams his hand down on the log out button, initiating the exit sequence. But a warning pops up. He must leave his character somewhere safe or risk real death. If he loses his life in the game, he dies in reality too. With that, he successfully logs out of the game. Back in his bedroom, loud noises echo. A massive fire is spreading through the streets as terrified people run for cover. A monstrous praying mantis stands right in the center of the raging inferno. His phone blares a loud disaster alert, and Randolph looks outside in shock. He spots the giant insect, and the creature lets out a screech upon spotting him. Randolph falls back onto the floor, cursing. Why are monsters from Pangaea in reality? Suddenly, something drops out of his pocket. It is the golden scale. The item actually crossed over with him, and memories of the game flood his mind. He grips his chair. Reality check. This is definitely his room. Maybe he just fell asleep. No, this is not a fictional manhwa. None of this makes sense. A dream, it simply has to be. He spots the gold scale and the small pouch sitting right in front of him. Were these items always in his room? The terrifying truth begins to sink in. He slips the scale into his pocket, trying to search up his game rewards. The page does not exist, and a message tells him to contact support. He assumes the site simply crashed, until terrified screams erupt from the street. People are desperately screaming for help as absolute chaos takes over the city. They are running from a giant praying mantis. Several citizens have already died. Several people have already lost their lives, and the local police declare an emergency as monsters run rampant. Suddenly, Randolph's phone starts to buzz. He checks the screen. The nightmare is actually repeating itself. He wonders if the boundary between reality and Pangaea has completely shattered now. What is he supposed to do? Slowly, his hand touches the artifact beside him. He immediately notices something very different about it. He realizes that if game monsters are running wild, game items might exist here too. Michaela's sword and hydrogen soul suddenly materialize from his bag. He wonders how to use them. In the game, it was a simple double-click. A quick memory of the system's screen sparks an idea. Fighting these beasts himself is suicide, but he can synchronize with Randolph. Activating the sync with Randolph, he notices the golden scale has 24 hours left. Meanwhile, in the middle of a ruined city, a mother flees with her child. The little girl asks where her father is and why he is not with them. Her mother promises he will arrive soon, but suddenly, heavy rubble rains down. The falling debris misses the girl, throwing her clear, but her mother is pinned. Trapped and bleeding, she desperately screams for her daughter to run and save herself. A passing office worker rushes over to them. She asks if they are okay. The desperate mother begs. "Take my daughter," she begs. The office worker hesitates, torn by the plea. Closing her eyes in grief, she apologizes but promises to protect the girl. She grabs the child and turns, only to freeze in sheer terror. A massive monster stands behind her, jaws wide, making her wonder if this is the end. But right before the teeth sink in, a heavy sword crashes down, slaying the beast. Randolph materializes right next to it, cold and ready for action. He carves the giant mantis into a dozen pieces, leaving the woman speechless. Stunned, she wonders if she is dreaming, but another mantis lunges at her. She screams to warn her savior, but the beast completely misses its target. The secretary gasps in shock. A massive, nine-headed dragon rises behind him. Randolph casually climbs the dragon's head, telling the secretary to stay right there. She can only stammer in disbelief, utterly convinced she must be dreaming. Little Yoonji runs to her mother as the secretary looks on. Her father finally arrives, but the woman turns to see Randolph slaughtering monsters. He slays dozens of mantises instantly. Across the globe, monsters are appearing everywhere. It is not just Korea, civilizations are crumbling under this sudden, brutal onslaught. Yet alongside these beasts, powerful warriors emerge to fight back. These bulletproof fighters call forth magical armor onto their shoulders, ready for war. "Do not worry," one yells, "I will protect you. The world is changing fast." Mysterious man scoffed, calling everyone idiots for wasting their precious golden scales. The assassin draws his own scale, realizing reality and Pangaea are truly merging. In this new chaotic era, everyone is a rival, fighting for absolute dominance. Whoever hoards the most golden scales will rule this dark new world. Suddenly, the global ranking that stood frozen for 2 years begins to shift. The top score hits an insane 220 points. Is Randolph behind this? Spectre, the legendary ghost player, was the first to build an NPC caravan. His legendary expedition to the demon territory nearly reached the game's true ending. Even though that quest failed, he remains the absolute #1 in Pangaea. Because his strongest avatar would summon upon death, he must have returned. The very second the expedition failed, he was summoned back into Pangaea. Though his looks and gear reset, his core talents remained perfectly intact. Those past abilities carried over, which explains how he knows so much. He wonders how that score was even possible, then snaps back to reality. Monsters are invading reality. Just like players, they take on their game forms. Specifically, their Pangaea avatars. It is starting to make sense. In his last run, he almost reached the end with a massive campaign. But his hired mercenaries held him back right at the edge of the demon territory. Then his own allies betrayed him. The sabotage went way too far. It was completely unexpected, but what if those obstacles? What if those players were actually summoned users just like him? People who actively blocked the ending, or simply saw him as a rival. And if the border between reality and Pangaea has truly collapsed, he cannot hide. Logging out is no longer an option. To survive, he has to get stronger. He pushes open the heavy doors, where Isabella is waiting to ask a question. She asks if he is done talking to the stars, and Randolph nods. He claims he is here to keep his promise, which puts a smile on her face. But there is a catch. Randolph names his condition, making her tilt her head. The servants quickly clear out as he states his demand. He wants to visit the sanctuary. Isabella calls him completely crazy, but he is thinking about his next class upgrade. It is the second main quest, unlocking a specific path he absolutely needs. That power only exists here. He tells her a star is waiting for them. The system quest demands he secure a class, offering rewards based on its tier. Cut to Isabella stepping through a bloody pile of corpses. She casually wipes her face with a bloody blade. Randolph is stunned. It took her mere minutes to slaughter the guard post. She is a top-tier asset. Rewinding a bit, just hours ago, he demanded she take him to the sanctuary. Randolph spun a massive lie, making Isabella question his search for the star. He claims it is hidden, and he needs it to lift his heavy curse. In truth, he stumbled upon the fourth star while leveling up his old character. But Isabella warns him that entering the sacred grounds is strictly forbidden. If anyone catches her smuggling an outsider inside, her life is forfeit. But he points out a crucial loophole: she has permission to enter. Back in the present, he shivers. If his gamble failed, his head would be rolling. Fortunately, they made it. Randolph looks up and points ahead. They have officially arrived at the Holy Land. Suddenly, a notification flares up. He has entered the desert sanctuary, triggering a side quest to explore the area. However, this zone is far too high for his current level. Luckily, his giant's demon resistance trait is keeping him alive. Without that passive buff, he would have collapsed the second he stepped inside. If he lets Isabella clear the path, he can grab the easy side quest rewards. The loot would be insane for a level 2 beginner, but that is not his priority. No, he is here for something much bigger. The class selection test is about to begin. It will not stop until he unlocks his path, with prizes scaling by rank. Randolph knows the legendary class is sitting right on the cliff's edge. Up there, his ultimate prize waits. Meanwhile, Isabella peers into the depths. She glances suspiciously at the massive pillars, a strange smile touching her lips. Turning around, she claims they took a wrong turn, but her eyes say otherwise. Randolph grabs her shoulder, asking where she thinks she is going. Isabella replies that the bridge is a total trap, and those chains will throw off anyone trying to cross. Randolph asks if she is just scared, which only makes Isabella more furious. She snaps back that she is the Snake Princess. Randolph jokes he did not know. She was so shy. Still, she insists it is a trap and admits her leg is cramping up. Realizing they have to move, Randolph tells her to hop on his back. Isabella blushes hard, yelling to ask if he wants to die, but Randolph insists. They have zero time to waste. Once dawn breaks and the dead warriors are found, she will be the prime suspect, so instead of wasting time standing around in fear, he is going to carry her. Isabella closes her eyes in pure anger, but she still holds on to him, complaining bitterly about her stupid cramped leg. Randolph speeds up, telling her to grip tight, then he charges toward the pillars. Isabella yells in panic, demanding to know where he is going since this direction is completely wrong. There is no path, but Randolph leaps into the empty air. His system triggers his mutant trait, letting him see secrets invisible to normal eyes. Stunned, Isabella asks if there is a hidden path. Randolph simply tells her that this is the real way. The princess cannot believe he knows a path that even she, the second in command of Facealmer, does not know. Plus, he is unfazed by this extreme difficulty. Too many strange things are piling up here. Randolph looks back, teasing that he never knew the second in command feared heights. She realizes he is completely relaxed. This kind of calm confidence is not normal. This confidence does not just come from raw power, it is almost like he is welcoming a long-lost friend. Isabella has to ask if they have met before. Randolph replies they have never shared a room, making her ask what he means. Randolph explains that he has seen her, but she has never seen him. Suddenly, a massive wave of energy floods the area, transforming into a flat plain. At the end lies a pile of stones. This is a massive domain barrier. Only those on the correct path can even see what lies ahead of them. If his memory serves, something deep within that pile of stones is about to glow blood red. Now watch. The ground shakes as 3 massive defender golems emerge. They block the path, ready for battle. Randolph realizes they are facing guardians. Judging by the sheer size of the glowing runes, these are high-rank monsters. Facing them directly is a bad idea. He asks Isabella if her leg is finally better. She snaps back, telling him to just shut up and watch. The 3 stone beasts charge forward. One lunges, throwing a massive fist at her. Isabella simply offers a mocking smirk. In a flash, she raises her hand. The golem's massive arm is instantly severed. She promises to finish this fast. Moving like lightning, she leaps forward, launching herself off the falling stones. The next golem is caught completely off guard, instantly split right in half. Randolph is amazed by her deadly speed. She is an absolute expert assassin. Her combat power is unreal, even for a character he designed himself. Within seconds, every single beast is brutally torn apart by her raw strength. This is the terrifying power of level 8. Suddenly, a system window pops up. It offers him the Golem Creator class. Randolph wonders if the system is crediting her kills to him. After all, Summoner-type classes are incredibly rare. Golem Creator is actually a highly coveted class inside Pangaea. In terms of ranking, it is at least high tier, but since this is not what he wants, Randolph quickly declines, because the entity capable of granting his true desired class is a completely different story. The heavy dark energy flooding the area shocks Isabella. A figure emerges from the shadows right above them, the ancient king and mountain master, once buried by the nameless star, rages at these invaders. Randolph notes that the guardian has finally appeared, the legendary guardian of the star, the ancestral serpent king, Dramath, and just like that, they both stand frozen before the massive serpent. The system warns that Randolph's current level is vastly lower than the recommended level of 10. Randolph can feel the immense pressure emanating from this ancient guardian of the sanctuary. Isabella asks if he brought her here just to slay this mountain guardian for him. But Randolph assures her that despite the beast's terrifying look, it is actually pretty gentle. He insists it would never attack him, but the massive snake immediately lunges forward. It strikes directly at Isabella, sending her crashing to the ground. Randolph is completely shocked by this. Isabella glares at him with absolute fury. Randolph mutters that this makes no sense because he remembers the beast as a friendly guide for travelers. The annoyed girl fires back. Does this giant snake actually look friendly to him? Dramath tells the challenger to strike him down and prove her worth, but Isabella quickly replies that she is not the one challenging the sanctuary at all. The serpent demands to know if she is not the warrior who crushed his sentinels, only to deny her purpose now. Dramath swings its massive tail, warning that if she cannot prove herself, she will never leave this place alive. Isabella dodges, repeating that she is not the challenger. She screams at the star-bearer to stop standing around and tell her what to do, while Randolph realizes he has no memory of defeating Dramath when he previously cleared this area. Suddenly an old memory floods his mind, the ancestral King Dramath is indeed the mountain guardian tasked with protecting the star. According to the lore, he is an enchanted beast whose body grew and gained wisdom directly from the star's energy. Back then, he cleared this place using Wilhelm, a level 10 5-star transcendent rank character. When he first entered the sanctuary as Wilhelm, Dramath had obediently guided him straight to the star because he possessed the necessary qualifications. In short, the beast only attacks those it deems weaker. Back then, he was incredibly strong. Now he is unsure of his next move until a sudden realization hits him. Isabella continues to dodge the beast's brutal strikes before suddenly falling hard to the ground. She realizes that because of the sanctuary's thick poison, her body is simply not moving properly. Stepping into this dangerous temple based on the star-bearer's word was a massive mistake, but Randolph loudly commands Dramath to stop. The snake's deadly tail freezes right above her head before slowly pulling back. The massive serpent turns its gaze toward Randolph. It demands to know how this weak human knows its true name. Randolph calmly replies that his master, Wilhelm, has returned, and the snake immediately withdraws its tail. The beast demands to know if he is truly the legendary Wilhelm. It then bursts into mocking laughter, pointing out that Randolph is not even prepared to receive the star and is far weaker than its own sentinels. It tells him to listen. Wilhelm was a truly magnificent warrior, a flawless transcendental being worthy of being its legendary master, but he failed his grand expedition to the demon depths, causing all of his stars to fall. This meant he met his final, absolute death, so how dare an inferior creature like him even? Randolph takes the blast head-on, but he immediately demands the giant serpent honor their contract. Shocked, Dramath demands to know how a mere human could possibly understand their secret pact. No outsider should know. The contract states that whoever uncovers the star buried here will learn the true name of the mountain guardian and immediately become its master. The beast must obey its master's commands while keeping this entire agreement completely secret. Anyone who breaks this strict rule will immediately die from a deadly curse. Randolph only knows these secret details because he remembers the original game's lore. Fortunately for him, the system rules still apply perfectly here. And since he is currently occupying Randolph's body, the curse cannot touch him. Furious and deeply shaken, Dramath demands to know his true identity. Randolph just smirks, lead the way, because the star itself will prove who he is. Dramath warns him that the star shows no mercy to the unqualified. He will instantly burst into flames the moment he gets near it. Randolph just shrugs maybe, but they will not find out until they actually see. He asks if Dramath is just terrified the star will recognize its true master. The giant serpent finds this hilarious, mocking him as a helpless brat who could be crushed easily. He could destroy him in a single bite, demanding to know where this arrogance comes from. But he tells Randolph to follow him so he can guide them straight to the star. He refuses to believe this kid is Wilhelm, but killing him now feels wrong. Instead, he would much rather let the star's trials dispose of him. With that decided, the massive beast glides ahead into the falling darkness. Reaching the summit, Isabella asks if this quiet place is where the star rests. Randolph nods, pointing directly to the mysterious object resting on the stone altar. Seeing the eerie skull, she asks if that is actually the star. Randolph explains that it is the sacred face of Lei, the twin goddess. When she died, her body split into 32 fragments scattered across the continent. Mortals call these scattered fragments the stars, using them to unlock incredible power. They are powerful catalysts used to shatter limits and reach absolute transcendence. Randolph steps forward, focusing his entire mind on the ancient relic. Suddenly, a wild torrent of fire erupts, prompting a terrified scream from Isabella. Dramoth just laughs, mocking his failure and reminding him of his warning. Yet within the raging inferno, Randolph's silhouette stands completely unharmed. He silently notes that the giant guardian is incredibly annoying. This dangerous fire only kills players who bypass Dramoth using a glitch in the game. Since he cleared the guardian legitimately, he walks through the flames with zero issues. The real challenge now is figuring out whether he can secure the specific class he wants. Claiming a star without an active class automatically grants the player a unique path. He discovered this hidden game mechanic completely by accident in the past. Standing before the swirling void, he confidently recites all 12 of his hidden talents. The star speaks, converting his massive mana pool into pure stellar energy. He instantly unlocks the Star Piercer skill and its powerful Blessing subskill. A permanent stat boost is also added, instantly raising all his basic attributes by 5 points. His power will scale continuously based on the number of stars he holds. Even after achieving transcendence, this incredible passive buff will never disappear. Randolph successfully claims his ultimate class, Successor of the Stars. He holds the crackling energy right in his palm, leaving Isabella completely stunned that he absorbed the star. Randolph's hair whips wildly in the wind as he stands victorious. He calls out to the girl, asking what she plans to do once she is finally free from the ancient curse. She says she wants to leave the desert and search for the Durzian family line. Randolph offers to grant her the blessing to leave this barren land. But only on one condition: she must serve him faithfully for a single year, and then he will guarantee her freedom and help locate her lost family. Hearing this, Isabella remembers the cruel queen from her past. Anger boils inside as she clenches her fists. Randolph gently places a hand on her shoulder, reassuring her that he is not the queen. And he does not lie. The girl freezes in surprise, biting her lip in deep hesitation. Dropping to her knees, she pledges her service. Randolph smiles, telling her she made an excellent decision. Meanwhile, Alias shouts to Dramet, demanding to know if the star's owner is now its true master. The giant serpent turns completely docile and bows in agreement. The protagonist demands it show proper respect. Right on cue, the system begins calculating his massive rewards, noting his score reached 230 points. The Hall of Fame shifts instantly. Battle-hungry constellations are already tracking his rising power. And far away, the Dark Queen senses an energy signature that absolutely enrages her. Isabella actually dared to enter the sanctuary with a mere captured slave, and she orders her forces to seize them both immediately. Meanwhile, back in normal world, a quiet city coffee shop remains open despite the late hour. Inside, twin players wonder if this Randolph guy is actually the legendary Spectre, since honestly, securing a class score higher than Gracious is practically impossible unless you have complete mastery of the game. That legendary veteran ghost player who dominated the servers for 5 years under the name Spectre has finally returned. This means total chaos, and they must find a way to contact him first. A girl asks how they could possibly track down someone who vanished for 5 whole years. The twins explain that Spectre was basically a ghost back then, but now he has a physical presence in the game. They plan to lure him out using the secret auction that just unlocked after the second main quest cleared, but the girl points out that he is going to need some seriously high-grade gear to dominate the third main quest. That is where their trap comes in, using the player-run secret auction to list a top-tier item for dirt cheap. Once bought, they will use a twin talisman skill to trace the buyer directly to their location. Unsuspecting rookies who fall for this dirty trick get tracked immediately, only to end up brutally robbed or even killed. The red-haired twin scoffs, doubting a legendary pro like Spectre would fall for something so basic, since he probably knows every single talisman mechanic by heart. The girl starts trembling, admitting that while it is unlikely, there is still a slight chance. She giggles, noting that despite his past failures, he still initiated the massive expedition. Anyone that reckless is bound to take risks, meaning a high-tier item might just tempt him. Either way, they absolutely must track him down and recruit him into their guild. before anyone else, while the twins jokingly threaten to report her for stalking. Meanwhile, back at the sanctuary, the global rankings suddenly shift, throwing a top competitor completely out of the class ranking board. Consequently, all their rights to the second quest are stripped away. Assassinato stares in disbelief at those 230 points, wondering what insane class grants that kind of score. It looks like his own plans for the secret auction are ruined. Staring at a literal sea of dead bodies, he knows taking down top players is his ticket back up. If he can just eliminate those at the peak, reclaiming his position is only a matter of time. Later, Dramath presses onward with the heroes. Suddenly, the system rings out. The subquest to explore the ancient sanctuary is complete. He is officially the first to ever clear it. This historic clear earns him a massive achievement, along with a special reward. He receives a rare teleportation book. Randolph silently notes this trip was actually pretty decent. Escaping this sanctuary, while finishing the exploration, is basically killing two birds with one stone. Suddenly, another notification flashes before him. The system announces a massive level up. At long last, Randolph reaches level 3. He's growing way slower than normal players. More talents means more required experience, 10 times the standard to be exact. 10 times the normal amount is absurd, but his base stat gains are absolutely insane. With scaling like that, complaining is out of the question. Besides, that is not the main prize. He is much more interested in the main quest rewards, 2 incredibly rare items for his low level. Among them is the coveted Cloak of Shadows, a gear piece that is basically a cheat code. Activating its main effect turns the wearer completely invisible. That is a free stealth skill. Right then, something rushes toward them. Dramath senses the incoming presence immediately. He quickly realizes there are 2 distinct signatures moving directly toward their position. The targets close the distance in mere seconds. Dramath growls a warning about hostile intruders. Isabella tenses up, guessing this is probably the Queen's elite pursuit squad. Randolph notes they have been holed up inside the sanctuary for way too long. She nervously asks what his plan is. The Queen herself is not here, but her soldiers are lethal. Even with the Guardians' help, she doubts they can handle this entire squad. Randolph just smiles. Why should they waste energy fighting when they have a Guardian? Isabella gets the hint instantly. Leaping backward, she yells that they are counting on the giant snake. Time for the giant snake to do its job. They bolt toward the entrance, leaving chaos behind. Hearing the intruders scream, Isabella asks if it is really fine to just ditch the Guardian. Randolph shrugs. Since the Queen herself is not here yet, there is nothing to worry about. This is likely just a small scout unit, not the actual main army. If they linger until the main force arrives and seals the exit, they are done for. Once surrounded, escape becomes impossible, especially since the enemy is actively hunting them down. It is best to move quickly. Isabella asks if he is abandoning Dramath because he is useless. Randolph replies that Dramath literally cannot leave the area anyway, so they must go alone. To get out of this desert alive, they need to reach the portal at the very end. He previously used the Blessing of the Stars to clear Isabella's curse, making things easier. She should have 0 issues using the portal now, but a different hurdle remains. That portal requires a significant amount of time to actually charge up and activate. Isabella sighs, hoping that once they clear this hurdle, they will finally be free. Randolph nods. True freedom lies beyond the desert, but that activation time is a problem. When Isabella asks for a specific time frame, Randolph delivers some pretty grim news. It will take roughly 12 hours, and this wide-open desert offers absolutely nowhere to hide. Their absolute best bet is for the pursuing soldiers to head straight inside the temple. With Dramath holding them off, they can buy precious hours before anyone realizes they fled. During that crucial window, Randolph must establish a solid connection with the stars. He knows this location is deeply significant, but he must first check something else. He needs to see exactly what is unfolding elsewhere. Back in the real world, he asks if he can trust her, and she draws her dagger. She vows to protect him. Randolph hits the log out button and warns her to be careful at the secret auction. Seconds later, Hyun Myung wakes up in his own bed, still completely unused, to the strange sensation of returning to his normal, human body. He grabs his phone from the nightstand, quickly noting that since there are no alerts or disaster warnings, the monsters have not appeared yet. The real world and Pangaea are slowly merging, but there is still so much he does not know. Soon, more monsters and players will invade, which really worries him, forcing him to return periodically to gather crucial Information, a text arrives. Kim Seoyeon is asking how Hyun Myung has been doing. Elsewhere inside a restaurant, a man complains about buying her food. In clothes, Seoyeon snaps back, asking if he was lying about being rich when they met. Only to act like a total cheapskate now. There is no reason to meet anymore. She adds since they have nothing left to say. She hangs up, telling him she is off to meet a friend and to never call her again. She scoffs that the guy was a total idiot. Sure, Hyun Myung was pathetic, but at least he always listened to her. Maybe she should have stayed with him longer, but she shrugs it off. She only left because he did not have any real money. Then Hyun Myung calls her name. She acts surprised, saying he is early, but the serious-faced protagonist just asks why she summoned him so suddenly. Seoyeon smiles, murmuring that maybe it is just because of the time apart, but he seems totally changed. Hyun Myung coldly tells her to get straight to the point, because his time is incredibly precious. She finds his sudden pride pretty strange, but boasts that some things never actually change. He still runs over whenever she calls, and that was always her favorite thing about him. Since their breakup, she claims she finally realized his worth. Constantly regretting her choices, Hyun Myung just stares at her in dead silence. He only wonders if he should order a coffee, since she has not even bought him a drink. He stands up. If she is done, he says. He is leaving. Seoyeon begs him to wait. She misses him and regrets everything. Hyun Myung scoffs, asking if her brand new boyfriend even knows she is sitting here. Talk about savage. He adds that if she wants to play the field, she should delete her couple photos on social media instead of just changing her profile picture. He walks away. She chases him, begging him to stop and listen. The protagonist realizes just how strangely calm he feels. He wonders if his in-game growth as Randolph is already impacting his real body. Nearby, a furious man screams that he was just being nice, yet she calls him a stalker. He glares at the onlookers, while the frightened girl begs the creep to let her go. Suddenly, he pulls out a box cutter and lunges forward. She screams, shutting her eyes, but the maniac's hand is caught. Hyun Myung grabbed it, stunning her. She stares in absolute shock. The protagonist quietly warns him that this has gone far enough. He demands the protagonist let go, but immediately shrieks in pain as his wrist begins to snap. He realizes that even without using his broken scale fragment, he can effortlessly crush wrists now. His real world body has truly changed. He throws the man aside and asks if she is. She catches her breath, telling him she is only alive because of him, not even knowing how to thank him. But he just quietly analyzes her, prompting her to ask why he is staring like that. He finally recognizes her as the very same woman from the incident before. Still, he casually turns away, claiming she simply resembles someone he once knew. Out of nowhere, the stalker tries to launch a cheap shot, ambushing Hyun Myung from behind. But Hyun Myung dodges without even blinking, casually reaching a hand straight toward the guy's face. With one brutal motion, he slams him face first into the concrete, leaving the woman utterly speechless. He pins the creep down until the police arrive and drag him off. But instead of a thank you, the cops tell Hyun Myung he is coming to the station. The woman immediately defends him, saying he only helped and she called the police. But the cops do not care, claiming it still counts as violence. Hyun Myung snaps that he does not have time, but they say they cannot ignore the law. But Hana warns that if they drag an innocent helper into trouble, they will pay for it. She introduces herself as Kim Hana, a reporter for the CK network. She demands they stop harassing an innocent bystander and focus on the actual victim instead. She pointedly asks if they really want this entire mess going public on the evening news. The officers start whispering in panic, while onlookers recognize her from the crowd. Whispers spread that she is the famous reporter who saved a kid during the initial tragedy. Backing down, the cops agree to only take the victim, and Hana quickly thanks Hyun Myung. Passing him her business card, she explains she is a journalist covering the Dimensional Warriors. That is the name people gave the fighters who appeared. They arrived on the exact same day the monsters invaded, making them legendary figures. Hyun Myung realizes she means players, finding a portal invasion easier to swallow than accepting that a mere video game actually became real. Just then Seoyeon runs up, grabbing his arm to desperately check if he is okay. Seeing the physical contact, Hana curiously asks if the worried girl is his girlfriend. Hyun Myung immediately pulls his arm back, denies it, and tells Hana he does not have a card. Instead, he just hands her his phone number, leaving Seoyeon completely crushed by the gesture. Hana smiles, saying his name has a nice ring to it, and offers to buy him dinner tomorrow. She insists it is on her, and Hyun Myung is not about to turn down a free meal. Seo-yeon fumes in disbelief, wondering how a total nobody like him could treat her so coldly. On her commute back, Hana's phone rings with a call from her boss, teasing the star reporter. Apparently, the director left her with a massive new assignment to score an interview with Gracia. Hana is stunned, recognizing the legendary player who single-handedly saved America from total destruction. She is treated as an absolute hero, making Hana wonder why she got stuck managing such a big deal. But get this legendary powerhouse is officially heading straight to Korea. Back in the game, Isabella is panting amidst a literal sea of dead bodies. She barely manages to stay standing after slaying 100 deadly assassins all on her own. As she stumbles, a mercenary barks that the queen demands her immediate return. All she has to do is hand over the slave behind her, and they will walk away. They will act like nothing happened, but she simply raises her bloody dagger in response. The assassins advance, but Isabella stands her ground, desperately calculating her options. Suddenly, a massive wave of raw magical energy floods the entire battlefield. A teleportation spell activates, dragging them back to the starting point. She only stays upright because of his support, as the main guy quietly whispers to her. She held up surprisingly well. Isabella asks him if he is finally done talking to the stars. One of the mercenaries barks at the others to stop standing around and execute the traitor. Randolph notes that she kept her promise to protect him, so now he must keep his. He unleashes the surging power in his hand, calling upon the star. Piercer skill, a move that drains all his energy for a full 41 seconds. Boom, the surrounding mercenaries begin to drop with brutal, terrifying speed. The protagonist tells her that this is her moment of freedom, so she should enjoy it. Isabella says that this must be the power of a star bearer. He turns, telling her it is not too late and she can go back if she wants because he will not stop her. The girl refuses. A warm, genuine smile spreads across her face as she decides to stay by his side. The heavy curse of limits on Isabella is nullified, and a connection is established with the legendary Golden City on the central continent of Arcana. The system officially welcomes them to the Golden City, warning them that this is a place where greed and materialism have peaked, so without the massive wealth of a noble, one should completely avoid the inner districts. Rich merchants chat with civilians while others ride by in fancy carriages. Isabella comments on how breathtakingly extravagant it is, but Randolph says that in this city, everything is solved with pure gold, meaning they need to make some cash first. The girl replies that if it is gold, he should not worry since she brought 300 coins along. Randolph sighs heavily, telling her that will last them one single night at most. She is completely shocked. She argues that is impossible, since 300 coins can buy 10 slaves, which is 10 times more than the price of a cleric. Randolph replies that prices here are totally different from the Kultusman Desert. He then asks why he was even stressing when there is cash scattered literally everywhere, making Isabella ask what he could possibly mean. Randolph points directly to a massive casino, which leaves her totally shocked by his wild attitude. But wait, he just smiles, telling her to relax because he is incredibly lucky, activating his hidden trait blessing of gold. This glittering golden city of Arcana is famously known as the City of Pleasures. Penguinia, every minor city operates as an independent monarchy, but here, there is only one real law. Money alone decides everything, and the absolute center of all this wealth is the famous Hudson Casino. Suddenly, a guard steps up and apologizes to the gentleman, explaining that anyone with a deposit of less than 10,000 gold cannot enter. Isabella frantically asks why he did not mention this rule since they only have 100 gold left after buying clean clothes, but Randolph calmly says they never actually had real money to begin with anyway. The security guard strictly replies that if they do not pay, they must leave to avoid disturbing the other paying customers. Randolph says he has no raw gold but can easily offer collateral, revealing a glowing fairy queen's tear in his hand. Stunned, the guard quickly says that in this case, they have a VIP client, forcing the entire staff to kneel. Isabella asks what he just gave them, and Randolph whispers that it was the legendary Fairy Queen's Tear talisman. It was one of the rare rewards he got from the sacred sanctuary, and it is easily worth at least 1 million gold. He remains completely chill since it is merely a deposit, and as soon as he wins a bit of cash, he will pay them back to reclaim it. The roulette wheel spins. Rapidly as the crowd holds its breath, the ball lands red but bounces right onto black. The crowd goes wild as he wins again, starting with 1,250 gold he now has. Over 1.5 million gold is theirs. For Randolph, nothing beats his money blessing. Isabella is absolutely thrilled by their sudden massive wealth while the dealer addresses them. She celebrates their new fortune, but the dealer steps up to speak directly to Randolph. The dealer promises they will pay out his winnings, but declares he is banned from this casino. He is banned forever. Honestly, can you blame them when everyone copying him is winning? The situation is out of control, which is exactly why the security guards have stepped in. The dealer demands they leave. Hearing this, Isabella glares at the guards with absolute rage. Randolph calms her down, agreeing to go, but first, he demands a word with the owner. The croupier immediately shuts him down, saying such a meeting is completely out of the question. Randolph tells him not to misunderstand. He is not the one begging for a chat here. In fact, it is their boss, who will desperately want to meet with him instead. He tells the dealer to pass along a message and mention the name Randolph. Meanwhile, in a private office, a wealthy man uses his skill to analyze a beautiful gemstone. He confirms the Fairy Queen's tear is real, wondering who could possibly possess such a treasure. Such an artifact is only carried by fairy knights, and those creatures almost never leave their world. Just one fairy knight is strong enough to easily slaughter 3 level 10 fighters. He has hunted everywhere for a tier like this, yet no one was ever selling. To think such a legendary treasure would just land right in his casino like this. Suddenly, a guard calls out to Mr. Hudson, reporting that the guest who wagered the artifact is waiting. The guest who left the talisman as collateral is requesting a direct meeting with him. A greedy grin spreads across Hudson's face. Shortly after, they are seated together over tea. Randolph sits completely calm and silent. Hudson watches him closely from across the table. He doubts this ordinary-looking guy is really the one who put up such a legendary collateral. The man does not look strong at all. Hudson asks what business he has with him. Randolph calmly replies that he simply knew Hudson would want to meet him once he saw it. That is why he sent the message. He wants his valuable talisman back right now. Hudson laughs, explaining that he is a collector and wants to negotiate a deal. He was actually just about to contact Randolph to buy the piece off him. Randolph says he is always open to a good deal, which delights the greedy casino owner. Hudson smiles, ready to talk numbers. He kicks off the offer at 2 million gold. He calls this an incredibly generous offer, leaving Isabella completely stunned. But Randolph drops a complete bomb, calmly demanding 20 million gold instead. Hudson laughs. That is enough to buy a massive mansion right in downtown Arcana. No matter how rare a talisman is, it is only used for upgrading gear. He refuses to pay a fortune like that just for some collector's hobby. Randolph counters that it is only a hobby for Hudson, but to him, it means everything. It is the key he needs to gain entry into the city council. Joining the council requires reaching level 10, which must be done through sheer raw strength. For a mere merchant like Hudson, climbing that high alone is completely impossible. That is why the tier is vital. It lets weak users bypass item level requirements. This will easily cover up his total lack of combat strength. A simple casino owner wants power to gain approval from his wealthy fiancé's family, Serengeti. Hearing Serengeti's name, Randolph immediately recalls a memory from his past. She was the sole daughter of Marquis Weiser, a legendary figure in the Balrin Kingdom. Known as the White Knight, she led 500 elite soldiers into the demon territory. She lost both her legs to the Demon King, all to save his life. Her loyalty as his right hand was absolute. Back then, though, he dismissed her sacrifice as nothing. A mere dramatic event in a game. Pangaea wasn't a real world to him yet. But everything changed. Once Wilhelm arrived, he realized these NPCs were living, breathing players. Suddenly, her parting words echoed in his mind. She had warned him about her potential death. If she never returned, he had to deliver this, her final request. Holding Serengeti's necklace, he wonders, what could this possibly mean? Inside the precious locket is a picture of Serengeti, standing next to her fiancé, Hudson. Wait, this makes absolutely no sense. In the original game, she never had a fiancé. Someone had clearly messed with her settings. Her preset was altered. The system accepted this so easily because Hudson was actually a real player. Just like him, Hudson had fully assimilated here. Now, Hudson demands some answers. He never shared his past, so how on earth did this stranger find out? Randolph realizes Hudson arrived here long ago. This guy is a goldmine of information. He needs to extract everything, every single detail about this world and its players. Quietly, he raises his hand. No, he says, I didn't find out myself. The stars told me, Hudson gasps, asking if he is really a stellar bearer. Randolph doesn't expect belief, but he promises he can give him whatever he desires. It goes far beyond mere gold, but there is one simple condition to meet. When Hudson asks what he wants, Randolph tells him to share his life story. Offer your tale to the stars, only then will I decide whether to help. But remember, there can be no lies. The stars only favor the absolute truth. Clutching his leg, Hudson hesitates. Why would anyone want his life story? Randolph knows this is a heavy choice. Stellar bearers are incredibly rare figures. Sharing personal secrets could easily expose him to the ultimate threat, hunters. These specialized NPCs track players down, treating them as lawless criminals. They execute them on sight. Countless players have met their end this way. With danger lurking everywhere, absolute caution is the only real shield. Honestly, you can't blame him for staying hidden, but he has an ace up his sleeve. He is certain Hudson will agree. To him, Serengeti is far more than an NPC. She is his entire world. Staring at her picture, the man finally gives in. Fine, he says, I will tell it. It all begins with Serengeti. Every single goal he has is completely intertwined with her. She was a brave knight. She joined the legendary expedition to the Demon Realm, led by the 8 heroes. Randolph is stunned. Wait, didn't Wilhelm lead that entire expedition himself? Hudson explains that Wilhelm was the famous face, but all 8 of them led. But bitter infighting divided them, dragging the entire mission to its ruin. Randolph asks if he actually knows the names of those 8 heroes. Hudson nods. They are legendary icons, and among them one stood supreme. The strongest champion after Wilhelm was Gracia. Now, the modern news is exploding. Who was that mysterious man riding a monster? Reporter Kim Hana investigates. His secretary walks in, confirming she arranged Gracia's big interview with Hana. He thanks her, but she wonders if traveling to Korea is really necessary. The United States government wants him to stay put in case of sudden monster attacks. Gracia refuses, insisting he has to go. A powerful gut feeling is drawing him there. Maybe this guy is the friend he needs. For now, Randolph just sits there at the table. He listens closely to the tale. Back in Seoul, Randolph eats while feeling a bit sick. Hana asks if the meat is bad. He tells her no, he is just exhausted. Something went down yesterday. He remembers how Hudson cried through the entire night. But he still got the files on the heroes. That meant pulling an all-nighter. He looks around the restaurant. Randolph wonders if this place is way too expensive. Eating here for free just feels wrong to him, but Hana quickly waves off his worry. He saved her from that creepy stalker, so a free meal is the least she can do. Suddenly, her eyes lock onto something. She asks if he recognizes that woman over there. Is that the same girl he was with before? She keeps staring right at them. What a wild coincidence. Randolph notices the guy sitting with her looks very familiar. It is the guy from Kim Soo-yeon's posts. Is his name Young Jinwoo? Hana offers to move to another spot if being here makes him feel awkward. Randolph tells her it is fine. He is not worried about his ex-girlfriend at all. They have absolutely zero connection now, but then a loud voice suddenly cuts in. The guy demands to know why Park Hyun Myung followed Soo-yeon to this restaurant. First, he kept bothering her after the breakup, and now he is outright stalking her. Randolph is baffled. Jinwoo sneers, claiming he knows all about his pathetic behavior. He heard Randolph begged Soo-yeon for coffee while crying. Randolph cannot believe his ears. But then the pieces click. He looks over at Soo-yeon, who is wearing a smug smirk. Jinwoo leans in with a threat. Keep following her and he will end him. Hana finally snaps. She tried to stay quiet, but this is getting totally ridiculous. Jinwoo mocks her, asking if she is just one of his cheap rental girlfriends. Heads turn as Jinwoo keeps spitting insults. Hana defends herself, her face flushed red. Wait, he actually threw cash at her. What a complete jerk. He insults them both, demanding they leave, but Hana is definitely not having it. She slaps him hard, calling him a piece of trash. Jinwoo is utterly stunned. You hit me first, he snarls, raising his fist. He winds up to strike her down. The fist flies forward, but he suddenly trips, face-planting hard onto the floor. Randolph sighs, that is enough. Honestly, Jinwoo is hardly an innocent victim here. Jinwoo glares back in rage, but Randolph already has him by the skull. He slams Jinwoo face first into the tiles. Seriously, just stop already. How is this guy so strong? Seoyin shrieks, mortified by her boyfriend's pathetic state. She tells him to get up. Randolph suggests they just end this whole circus now. Jinwoo was the one who threw the first punch anyway, so let it go. But Jinwoo is seething. This absolute nobody just completely humiliated him. He messed with the wrong guy. Reaching into his pocket, he pulls out a scale. It erupts into a blinding, golden light, catching our hero off guard. Randolph shields his eyes, wondering what the hell this energy is. The crowd starts screaming, he is a dimensional warrior, he is actually transforming. Jinwoo grabs Randolph and hurls him down, telling him to talk tough now. Our main character hits the floor hard. Hana shrieks out Randolph's name in terror. Randolph never expected this guy to be a player, but then he notices something. Why is he so incredibly calm? He watched the entire dramatic sequence. Yet the attack did absolutely zero damage. Suddenly, his great sage trait sparks to life. He only let his guard down for a moment, and Randolph dared to make him look like a fool. Jinwoo assumes Randolph only has one class and is barely level 4 in Pangaea. Each level up demands a far greater amount of experience points. Additionally, the experience requirement increases depending on how many talents a player possesses, making them much stronger but slowing down their growth. And, of course, Jinwoo is one of those with little talent, and the reason his level is so low is simple. He has never fought a complete beginner who has been running nonstop since day one. After a few incredibly lucky breaks, he survived the main quest, and with another unbelievable stroke of luck, he obtained a highly coveted, top-tier class. As a reward for achieving a high rank, he unlocked the ability to log out. Randolph can tell without even looking that not everyone starts out with such natural abilities. Seoyeon begs him to stop and leave because a crowd is watching, but Jinwoo replies that he is no longer in the mood. He turns and warns Randolph that he only survived because of Seoyeon telling him to never come near her again. Randolph silently thinks that Jinwoo is just showing off, wasting the golden power as if it were completely worthless. Hana asks if he is okay, and Randolph says he is. He tells her to let it go, since they were the ones who struck first. It was no big deal, so they should just finish eating. But then, a strange sensation washes over his body. A sudden earthquake erupts, startling everyone. Around them, Randolph realizes this cannot be. The surrounding walls are shattering as another collapse begins, signaling that monsters are about to appear. Hana cries out that they must run, but Randolph covers her mouth, telling her to wait. Everyone flees in terror from the monsters savagely attacking them, but they are not actually trying to bite. Randolph realizes they are lucky that putrid worms appeared, since they only feed on corpses. As long as nobody attacks them, the true nightmare will not emerge, but several worms surround Jinwoo and Seoyeon. Terrified, she screams at her boyfriend to do something, and he readies his spear. Randolph shouts for him not to strike, but it is already too late for that idiot. Jinwoo is stunned to have defeated it in a single strike, realizing he is far stronger than he imagined. He screams that he will slaughter all these damned beasts. The crowd cheers, shouting that this is expected from a dimensional warrior, urging everyone to run. Jinwoo feels completely fearless, thinking these monsters are absolutely nothing. Randolph warns Hana to get as far away as she can, far away from that brainless fool who is currently fighting. Jinwoo wonders where this dense mist came from, completely blocking his vision. Suddenly, a cold hand reaches out, covering his eyes. A moment later, an ancient observer lurks behind him, demanding to know who took the lives of its children. A massive elite monster, the putrid Maba, finally appears. The recommended party size is 20 players at level 6. The beast orders him to kill them all, and just like that, Jinwoo is possessed by the creature. One of the men on the ground coughs, wondering what that was, unable to see anything through the heavy mist. But Jinwoo is already stalking him. He points his spear directly at him and thrusts it forward, telling him to go to hell. Under the influence of the putrid worm blood, the spear closes in on the victim, who desperately wonders what is happening. Clash happening, blood sprays across the ground, but Randolph blocks the incoming strike. By slicing Jinwoo's arm, the boy looks aside. He's panicking. Warns that he did not want to intervene, but the young man has gone way too far. He commands him to come and face him right now. Meanwhile, putrid worms stir, beginning to envelop Jinwoo inside a cocoon while cackling. A monstrous creature bursts out, screaming that this is actually pretty good. the putrid mamba snarls that a delicious human awaits them. The protagonist merely stares at the beast. Elsewhere, Hana screams out desperately. For Hyun Myung asking where he is, she sees absolutely nothing in the thick fog. She calls out his name one final time. Randolph charges straight at the creature. Demolishing everything in his way, he dodges the strikes, realizing that although the fog let him transform without being noticed, it does not guarantee victory. If he did not know its exact attack patterns, he would already be torn to shreds. The mamba finds it strange since his physical abilities are not impressive, yet he is somehow dodging everything perfectly. He moves as if he already knows each attack. Randolph aims his sword for a thrust, but the beast claims it is useless. Still, Randolph slices cleanly through all of its tentacles. He anticipates the mamba's next deadly strike right as he turns his back. Instantly, an explosion of blood erupts. Randolph quickly grabs a table, using it as a shield from the blast. Knowing that if the fluid touches him, he gets a debuff, the table blocks the fluid, but our hero smashes it to pieces immediately after and keeps advancing while breathing heavily. The mamba admits it did not expect him to dodge even that. He clearly has an impressive evasion skill, but in the end, his attacks cannot reach, thus his evasion does not matter. Randolph tells the beast to relax because he will soon drive a sword through its forehead. He then summons the talisman of the Fairy Queen's tear and equips the boots of Hermes. He is below the level requirements, but the tear allows him to equip them. He also wears Miquela's armor and helmet. Now, he can finally activate the Miquela set ability, Celestial Dragonoid, along with the incredible agility from the boots of Hermes. The protagonist thinks it was a wise choice to buy this at the secret auction, though he is hesitant, knowing he should only use the tear when absolutely necessary. The boots of Hermes imitate the feet of a god, allowing the user to run unbelievably fast. Now watch, Randolph charges forward, fully intent on keeping his deadly promise. With just a single step, he is already face to face with the monster. A tentacle flies toward his face, but the protagonist easily dodges it. The concrete caves in around his foot, but Randolph keeps moving forward. Without stopping, he moves so fast that he leaves a trail, utterly surprising the beast by appearing behind it. The monster turns, calling our protagonist bastard while shooting spines from its back, but Randolph deflects them with unbelievable ease. He then moves his sword, glaring coldly at the monster from behind his helm. This time the creature's tail lashes out. It strikes hard, forcing Randolph to retreat. He spits blood from the impact, but he still defends himself with his arms. The system activates the ability of Miquela's set, transforming him into a celestial dragonkin. The monster claims he still has tricks up his sleeve. Gathering acidic blood, it fires directly at our protagonist, calling him a damned rat. Randolph realizes that this is the putrid mamba's final assault. If he can just survive, the blood will rise past his boots. The beast boasts there is no way he can survive this, demanding that the rat die inside its bloody cyclone. Suddenly, energy swirls within him. The protagonist releases his gear's effect and a sudden gale erupts. The mamba realizes he is using the wind to disperse its poison. Fog. The putrid mamba relies on 4 patterns, and once they are exhausted, it falls into a brief daze, left completely helpless. But once that confusion passes, its next cycle grows stronger. Randolph charges forward, knowing this is his only chance to win. The putrid mamba begs him to wait right before losing its head to the slash. Randolph drives his blade deep, reminding it that he promised he would finish this when all was said and done. The system congratulates him for slaying the black mamba entirely on his own. Because of this, his golden scale has nearly 43 hours remaining. Suddenly, people cheer that the mist is finally clearing. The heavy darkness recedes, allowing the protagonist to obtain a lucky die as his synchronization hits 9.1%. Hana wonders if it is finally over. Then, through the fog, she spots Randolph wearing a dark hood. He quickly hides his face. She instantly recognizes him as the man from before. Calling out, she says he is the savior who rescued her last time, begging him to remember. Hyun Myung thinks she is safe as his cloak's magical concealment activates. Hana begs to speak with him for a moment, but the protagonist completely vanishes. Shocked, she looks down. Only wreckage remains on the ground. Suddenly, the protagonist approaches and calls out to Hana. She spins around. The protagonist says he finally found her after getting separated. In all the chaos, he asks if she is hurt, but Hana says she is fine. She notices something different. His finger is bleeding as he mutters that he never expected things to end up like this. Hana asks if he is injured. He quickly replies that some monster blood must have splattered on him, and he did not even notice it. The girl notes that his clothes are perfectly clean, yet his nails are heavily caked with blood. She remembers he was also unusually calm when the monsters appeared, suspecting he knows exactly what they were. The protagonist struggles to answer, claiming things got so chaotic he just said the first thing that came to mind. Hana finds him incredibly suspicious, appearing right after her savior vanished. Yeah, that is definitely not a good look. The next day, major news reports broadcast that just a few days after the initial invasion, another attack has struck. Elite warriors warn that these dangerous attacks will continue, expressing their belief that a long-term joint operation with the government is necessary. Consequently, terrified civilians lock themselves indoors, leaving the city streets completely barren. Angered by this, the public vents deep dissatisfaction toward the government, blaming them for the massive casualties during the second disaster. Behind closed doors, tense government officials gather. A bald politician remarks that they were far too complacent, and now everything is in total chaos. Another official counters that those who were not personally affected simply could not comprehend the gravity of the situation. A female official suggests this threat goes far beyond the ordinary, which explains why they tried to keep everything quiet. Things start out calm, but their boss steps up, declaring this crisis was a wake-up call. Another invasion could strike anytime, making this the perfect moment to reveal their new alliance. Ti-woo quickly adds that other factions are thinking the exact same thing right now. They need to act fast, recruit elite talent, and secure their lead. A female analyst speaks up. She is currently analyzing security camera footage. The quality is terrible, but if this guy soloed the putrid Mamba, he has to be Randolph. He is the first place ranker. Another guild member chimes in with a vital detail. Randolph literally just wrapped up mission 2. He should be extremely low level. He is level 4 or 5 max, which means equipping those boots should be impossible, unless he used a high-tier talisman. Either way, this is exactly the kind of powerhouse they need. Plus, he showed up right after the Spectre vanished. They could easily be the same guy. Rival guilds are already moving, so they must recruit him first to seal the rift. Meanwhile, back inside the game, Hudson is losing his mind with absolute shock. He cannot believe his ears. Did Randolph seriously just use the tear of the Fairy Queen? Randolph calmly nods, leaving Hudson completely baffled as to why he did something so reckless. Randolph was supposed to hand it over. Instead, he coolly explains his actual terms. He promised to help, not hand over a priceless item. Besides, he does not need cheap crutches. He destroyed the tear so Hudson would stop clinging to excuses and false hope. Hudson is stunned. Is there seriously another way to get what they want? Randolph chuckles. His face is practically screaming that he does not trust him. He tells Hudson to follow. Honestly, you just have to respect his insane level of confidence. They arrive at a grim new location, Arcana's underground sewer dungeon. As they venture deeper, Hudson grumbles. Why did it have to be the literal sewers? Randolph replies that this will cure his doubts, while serving as a crucial anchor point. They need a solid base before heading to the place that can grant Hudson's ultimate wish. The teleportation book from Dramath was incredibly handy, but it came with a catch. Having to constantly boost his exploration rate was becoming a massive chore. He wants to map out all of Arcana, but with his limited time, this sewer will have to do. Hudson snaps. Running this dungeon with only 3 people is absolute suicide. The local boss is a terrifying mutant rat that usually takes 6 level 8 players to kill. Randolph abruptly stops in his tracks. He looks completely unfazed. He calmly replies that he already knows. Suddenly, the monstrous boss emerges from the dark. Glowing red eyes lock onto them. The giant beast digs its claws deep into the dirt. It springs forward like a bullet, moving with mind-blowing speed. Yet Randolph just stands there, refusing to even flinch as the beast closes in. Hudson panics. This mutant's primary weapon is speed, requiring a tight, coordinated 6-man squad. Right now they have 0 formation. They are sitting ducks out here. He cannot believe Randolph is actually being this insanely reckless. Suddenly, Randolph orders Isabella to move. She draws her dagger and flashes toward 10 o'clock. The giant rat is baffled, completely losing track of its target. Randolph knows that speed is useless once you memorize the beast's attack pattern. This tactic only works because Isabella is an absolute lethal weapon of a companion. She is in a totally different leg. Hudson is sweating buckets. Our main character calls out to him, his voice echoing through the dark sewer tunnel. He commands Hudson to stop doubting him. He always pays his debts, no matter the cost. If he says it can be done, it gets done. Hudson is absolutely floored. The secretary checked the CCTV. Nothing, not a single trace anywhere near them. Mr. Jang shivers. Nobody knows anything. It is like a real horror story. The secretary asks if they should pay Young Jinwoo another visit. Mr. Jang refuses. The man is completely broken and out of his mind from shock. Having both arms brutally ripped off ruined him. Going back now is just a waste of time. Jinwoo just stares blankly at the wall in pure horror. The secretary then mentions Kim. Hana because she definitely knows something. Jang asks if he is seriously suggesting they raid the actual station. Besides, Gracia is personally protecting her, which is causing a massive uproar among all Korean players. They even heard that Powerhouse is holding a private face-to-face interview with Hana right now. The two finally stand. Under the bright spotlights, Gracia introduces himself, and Hana says it is an honor to meet him. The secretary wonders if it was love at first sight, but Jang tells him to stop poking a hornet's nest. He realizes that with the specter gone, Gracia is supreme, yet that absolute monster traveled to Korea just to talk to some random reporter. The smart move is staying far away. If they anger him, their entire alliance could easily end up completely destroyed. Elsewhere, a man asks if it is finished. His bleeding victim begs to know what he is doing since real-world player killing is strictly outlawed. Gracia warned everyone to prepare for an invasion, making this highly illegal, but the attacker just grabs his face, whispering that everything is fine. He cold-bloodedly ends the young man's life, telling him to go ask Gracia for help. Blood pools. Meanwhile, Murder walks away. The global rankings update. He is now officially a high ranker who has unlocked access to the secret auction. He is utterly convinced that Randolph is definitely the legendary Spectre. Otherwise, there is simply no explaining that insane score. If it is indeed him, he will challenge the main quest without a single hesitation. By waiting right here, they will meet soon, and he will die by his hands. Meanwhile, back in the world of Penguinia, a massive hydrogen beast slams its claw into the dirt, standing tall and imposing. Thick smoke suddenly envelops two people. Randolph considers himself lucky. His primary goal is just establishing an anchor point in the sewer dungeon. The dead monster lies before him as he approaches, pulling a glowing crystal from inside. It is a mutant rat core, which triggers beast mutations or works as prime material for crafting tools. He never expected to find the perfect catalyst to evolve his hydrogen beast. He asks if Hudson cleaned up everything at the casino, and he confirms it is all handled. Giving up the casino hurts, but they have no choice if they are going to be away for a long time, and to marry Serengeti, it is barely worth a moment of worry. Besides, the locals would never leave the place in peace without him around, so he chose to trust and follow the star bearer. Above all, it was incredible seeing Isabella slay that giant rat entirely on her own, but it was only possible because of him, a man who acts as if he sees right through everything. He is undoubtedly an extraordinary man, and missing this golden opportunity means he might never get another shot like it. A small smile plays on Randolph's face as he asks if that is truly how he feels. Now freed from worrying about money, he can fully focus on the road ahead. Only after reaching level 10 does Hudson speak up, asking where they are actually heading. He complains that nobody ever told him, but they are heading to a masterpiece, one that can grant wishes. The main character already has it in mind. It is the very place where their third quest begins, the Spirit Tower. Deep inside a massive forest, the party begins to look around and explore. Hudson shrugs, saying that to his untrained eyes, this just looks like a normal forest. Randolph denies it immediately. Dead wrong. This is no ordinary woodland. This is the gateway, the Basrock forest where the sacred spirit tree grows. That tree is where spirits are born, and it opens a path to their sacred world. Slipping onto this path right at dusk is the only way to reach the tower. But Randolph touches the bark. His face falls. The tree is completely dead. In fact, this entire forest is lifeless. No new spirit has been born here in forever. The protagonist knows his plan is pretty reckless, but with no choice, he draws his sword. Hudson watches in sheer panic, asking him what on earth he is trying to do. Ignoring him, the protagonist readies his stance and spins directly toward the massive trunk. Before the others can even process what is happening, the tree is sliced clean in half. A violent gust of wind suddenly erupts, whipping through the woods as Hudson screams in horror. He asks if destroying a sacred tree is really okay, but then a bright light shoots upward. Instantly, the main character fires a swift energy blast straight at the light. Danger strikes. Isabella whips out her dagger, shielding Hudson but taking a nasty cut. An arrogant voice echoes. He never expected a human to block his strike, calling it interesting. This level 9 High Dryad looks down on her, calling her a mere human woman. Hudson stammers in disbelief. The Dryad admits he originally thought they were just lost travelers. He was actually going to be merciful and let them pass through without any trouble. They cut it down, and now the Dryad says humans have lost their fear. Isabella scans the shadows and whispers that there are at least 50 of these creatures. If they all swarm at once, they stand no chance. She must prioritize saving the Star-Bearer. Meanwhile, Randolph grumbles at the protagonist, telling him not to act annoyed when he started this. After all, if he had not cut down the tree, these Dryads would still be hiding. The Dryad calls him insane. Randolph does not care, he just wants to talk. But the Dryad refuses to cooperate, firing a deadly arrow straight at his head instead. The protagonist steps forward, asking if they really plan to just sit by while their home rots. The Dryad freezes in shock. The protagonist promises to revive this dying forest. He points out that there are no spirits left here capable of keeping these woods alive. And if no new spirits are born, everyone knows this place is doomed to rot. That is why they must open the Spirit Tower's gate. He intends to provide a new spirit. But the Dryad laughs it off as pure nonsense, claiming the tower only accepts the chosen. He sneers, asking if a pathetic human actually believes he can step foot inside. Even Randolph privately agrees that it is impossible. Entering requires an incredibly rare talent. You have to complete brutal trials and hope a dozen perfect coincidences align. The odds are astronomically low, impossible basically. It is far beyond their reach. At least it would be impossible for any normal person standing in this forest. But our main character is anything but ordinary. He flatly tells the Dryad to shut up. He demands that they open the gate. The Dryad asks if he truly believes he can save this place. He calls him a filthy liar, declaring that they will execute him for destroying the spirit tree. Randolph gears up for a fight, startling Hudson and Isabella, but the High Druid stays quiet, raising a hand. He simply commands them to stop. This shocks the other Druids who cannot believe his decision. The leader leaps down to the ground, standing face to face with Randolph. He demands he keep his word. Randolph replies that he always keeps his word and will return the lost spirits to this forest. The Druid admits he expects him to fail, figuring he can just end the boy's life later when he inevitably screws up. With that warning, he orders them to follow him. Before long, the sun sets and they reach a massive stone tower. The cold blocks stand completely still. The Druid explains its life force is actively fading. To open the path, they must offer up the remnant of a dormant spirit. He looks at Randolph, warning him that failure means instantly getting turned into fertilizer for the woods. Randolph casually asks what success gets him. The Druid promises a fitting reward. A new quest triggers, bring the spirits back to the forest. The old Druid tells him to brace himself because the gate is opening now. Blinding white light suddenly floods the clearing, swallowing the entire party. Hudson shields his face from the glare, struggling to keep his eyes open. System alerts chime in, confirming entry is granted strictly to authorized guests. Suddenly, they find themselves standing in a strange void. Hudson nervously looks around. He asks if they made it inside. Randolph quickly shakes his head. Not yet, this is just the portal, and they need permission to enter. Hudson wants to know whose permission, but his voice suddenly trails off. A small glowing spirit floats right before them. Hudson asks if he can grab it. It is pretty adorable, but Randolph instantly warns his friend to back off. The creature silently studies the group, detecting a faint druidic energy lingering around. Recognizing the mark, it agrees to grant passage, but then it asks a question. Can Randolph truly trust these people to watch his back with their lives? It decides to let them all pass. Still, the path ahead remains hidden. Every member must conquer their own designated gate first. Isabella steps up, ready. Hudson panics. His body is literally starting to fade away. The guide reassures him that time works differently here, so they can climb safely. Wishing them luck, it vanishes. Their third main quest instantly flashes on screen. Scaling the tower is the objective, but there is a useful hint. Suddenly, Randolph is standing alone before a colossal, pitch-black portal. It feels incredibly familiar, yet something about this specific entrance feels completely off. Normal climbers must face a trial, matching their specific elemental affinity. For instance, Isabella has wind magic, so she enters a trial of storms. Hudson has a strong connection to water, landing him at the ocean gate. Every path adapts perfectly to the challenger. Honestly, this is where it gets crazy. Randolph has never seen this dark attribute before, likely due to having all affinities. Suddenly, massive eyes slowly open right on the gate itself. It speaks. An anomaly holding every single element actually exists, even the clashing ones. It wonders if this is due to the void element binding them together. But there is a far deeper secret here. This is pure, untamed chaos. The gate of chaos stands open, waiting for the traveler to take his first step. One wrong move and chaos will swallow him forever. Meanwhile, in a quiet, tidy room, the protagonist analyzes the screen before him. For the last 5 years, he logged in almost every single day without ever getting tired. Honestly, he played Pangaea more than anyone else alive. He knows this virtual world's deepest secrets. Even so, the game still hides secrets he has yet to uncover. Brutal world with an insane difficulty that makes completion seem impossible, but it always sparks a burning desire to conquer the challenge. Its deep mysteries were masterfully built, and that is exactly why he loves it. He wonders if this is the very first time this gate has ever opened. He will be the one to clear it. Drawing his blade, a white-haired figure suddenly stands before him. The entity slowly turns, its head revealing itself to be Wilhelm. Our hero wonders why on earth his own custom-made character is standing here as an opponent. Wilhelm's sword closes in right on his neck, but Randolph barely dodges. He realizes that regardless of why he is here, he has to fight this absolute beast, the former number one. Randolph's sword gets knocked clean out of his hand during the clash. He realizes this fight is designed to be unbeatable. Wilhelm prepares his counterattack. He strikes down the hero, who curses this incredibly brutal game as a sword plunges into the dirt. Luckily, Randolph survives by activating Mikla's legendary armor. He notices the blade fail to cut clean through his arm, meaning the enemy's attack power just barely matches his own. Defensive stats. This opponent looks like Wilhelm, but his actual stats are close to Randolph's. It only copied his looks. Randolph immediately activates Gale, knowing there is absolutely no reason to fear him. Wilhelm suddenly slams hard into the wall. He rises back up completely unharmed, directing a freezing, lifeless stare right at his opponent. He watches Randolph rush forward, sword poised to strike. Wilhelm calmly walks toward him, dodging the thrust and landing a brutal counterkick. Randolph's head snaps to the side. The clone asks if he came back to reclaim his old glory. Randolph is stunned by this strange talking. Wilhelm presses the attack, asking if such a thing is even possible. The protagonist simply moves his hand, grabbing the clone's hair, asking what the hell he is babbling about. With a burst of raw strength, he moves to violently sever the head clean off the body with his sword. Wilhelm goes completely lifeless immediately. His severed head rolls across the stone floor. Randolph quickly pulls out a potion. He drinks it, recovering his health instantly. A drop of potion spills from his lips. He admits it is a good thing he stocked up using that Hudson Casino cash. But suddenly, several identical clones of Wilhelm begin to manifest all around him. Without those health potions, our boy would have been absolute history. Talk about perfect timing. Meanwhile, back in the real world, inside an office building, Hana concludes the meeting. She thanks her guest for coming all this way, noting how exhausting it must be, and politely thanks Mr. Gracia for his precious time. He reassures her that it is no issue at all, but now that the cameras have stopped recording, he has a personal question. Hana listens as Gracia brings up a simple question about the mysterious man featured in her latest article. He demands to know every single detail she has on him, wanting to hear exactly what she witnessed. Meanwhile, several defeated clones of Wilhelm lie scattered across the floor. Randolph stands tall, his Gale technique still active. He holds his sword firmly, but his heavy breathing betrays his exhaustion. He wonders just how a massive amount of time has passed fighting at least 100 of them. Fortunately, the illusions have finally stopped appearing, since he cannot see anything up above. He assumes this must be the final floor. He is completely out of potions, meaning A clear message from the system would be great right about now. Suddenly, one of Wilhelm's bodies starts dissolving into thin air, immediately catching Randolph off guard. Then, the shadows on the ground twist into a creepy, mocking smile. The voice asks if the chaos has failed, saying they've taken a liking to him because they never expected him to get this far. Randolph addresses the spirit of chaos directly, noting that its arrival must mean he has finally cleared the tower. The spirit's shadow smile widens in mockery before it suddenly bursts into hysterical laughter, calling it ridiculous that he thinks he actually cleared the tower. He really thought someone like him could finish this. The true challenge has not even begun. Beyond that massive barrier is where the real nightmare starts, and he is already completely exhausted from just this warm-up. The spirit mockingly asks if he truly believes he can survive. After all, this place was never designed to be cleared by anyone. Past this door, hundreds or even thousands of the illusions he just fought are waiting. For him, the voice tells him to just give up now because success is impossible. But the spirit is stunned. Randolph calmly walks forward without a single care, and the spirits desperately begin begging him for contracts. They promise him tens of thousands of rewards and benefits, noting the tower awards prizes based on whichever trial is chosen. Beating the fire trial grants a fire spirit, while the wind trial offers a wind spirit, allowing the challenger to contract with them once they hatch. The trial he entered is the chaos trial, so he naturally expected the grand reward to be a chaos spirit egg. These eggs are incredibly rare, making this one the first in all of history. Since the reward is top tier, they are desperate for a contract before he even finishes. Now watch closely, because behind this door lies something far better than a simple chaos egg. With that thought, Randolph steps right inside, recalling their warning about the endless waves of illusions waiting on the other side. It will definitely be tough since he used every single potion during the previous fights, but he has memorized their attack patterns to the point of absolute disgust. He no longer needs any health potions. He intends to dodge the exact movements he has witnessed thousands of times to easily conquer this tower. The spirit is completely baffled by his confidence, muttering that they never expected anyone to challenge the tower for such a ridiculous reason. But honestly, he is exactly the type of idiot they love. Back at the entrance portal of the tower, Randolph looks around, wondering what this place is. The system marks his main quest complete and begins calculating his performance results. The spirit admits he actually managed to climb the tower, offering its most sincere congratulations. Fortunately, his friends are still alive as well. Randolph calmly asks if that dramatic speech about the real challenge was a complete lie, and the spirit proudly confirms it. Had he agreed to a contract, he would have been trapped for eternity. Hearing this, Randolph smoothly sheathes his sword, remarks that they are incredibly good at lying. The spirit cheerfully replies that deception is their favorite game. However, Randolph must have picked up on a hint when he cleared the trial, so that was that. In any case, he should take his well-earned reward, telling him to hold out his hand. Randolph has successfully conquered the Tower of Chaos and will now obtain his reward. Randolph quietly thinks that if this trial ends with just a standard reward, everything is laid bare. He claims a chaos spirit egg. Suddenly, the strange egg begins warping the entire room, shocking him. A hidden celestial trait lurks deep inside. Glowing feathers wrap around the shell as the system notifications glitch. The text shifts, revealing a celestial spirit egg. Randall looks down in shock. He looks down in complete disbelief, wondering what kind of crazy power he just uncovered. Fell straight from the celestial realm, resting at the very edge of total darkness and chaos. This might prove he belongs to that race. He wonders if it connects to his hidden trait, hinting at a much larger destiny. Perhaps it is not just a naming coincidence, but a true manifestation of his power. He asks his companion's spirit, but it has absolutely no idea. Still, even the legendary spirit kings are starting to take notice. They are some of the most powerful entities alive. These guardians literally shape Pangaea. If they are interested, this egg is priceless. He is dying to know what is inside, but there is no way to check yet. He will have to hatch the creature later to uncover the ultimate truth. According to the system, he just pulled off an absolutely historic achievement. Scoring 240 points, his rewards get a massive boost. The excited constellations are showering him with favor. He realizes these are gods from the era of the 100 stars. Usually they only care about legendary sanctuaries, but 5 of them are watching him. Having 5 cosmic entities backing him is a massive advantage in Pangaea. Keeping them happy is key, since they hand out exclusive quests and crazy buffs. He recalls from the lore that these gods love a good human drama. This means they absolutely love the wild show of chaos he just put on. Because of their favor, his reward choices transcend normal boundaries. He gets to choose 2 top-tier prizes. He picks 2 out of 20 options. Soon, his allies emerge. Clearing the tower, Isabella gets a wind spirit, while Hudson gets water. The exact number of spirits they receive is completely random. By sheer luck, Isabella gets 2 eggs and decides to keep her word. If she can hatch the wind spirit and release it, she can save the forest. The dead Basrock forest will bloom again. In gratitude, the Dryads offer a reward. They present their ultimate treasure, a special mandrake elixir made from ancient herbs. It holds 1,000 years of concentrated forest vitality. Naturally, they give it to Isabella, making her even more powerful. With the quest complete, Randall earns the title of Forest Friend. He also claims the absolute top spot on the tower rankings, proving his dominance. This grants him the legendary Guardian Wall privilege, boosting his overall rank. Using their specialized transport, the party eagerly pushes forward once more. Randolph sets up the Guardian Wall to protect his offline body from danger. A new system notification pops up, bringing him massive relief. While he's playing Pangaea, it guards Park Hyun Myung in reality. And when he logs off, it protects Randolph, but there are only 72 hours left. To secure the broken golden scale fragment, leaving him with very little time to prepare. More time means safety. Hudson calls out to the Starbearer with sincere thanks. He admits he never expected to obtain a rare spirit egg to hatch right away. This egg is crucial. Randolph responds that going alone is far too difficult. Climbing from rank 9 to 10 is brutally difficult, but borrowing spirit power makes it possible. He suggests a quick detour first, and his companion agrees without any hesitation. Hudson promises to follow him anywhere, earning a quiet nod from the leader. Arriving in a new city, Hudson laments that his key lies in this cursed land. He screams hysterically. Isabella watches in confusion, but Randolph demands immediate silence. She wonders what kind of terrible destination could trigger such a massive, sudden reaction. Randolph reveals they are entering the territory of Marquis Visor, a powerful noble. His fiancée lives here, making Hudson highly anxious about their sudden, unannounced arrival. He feels totally unworthy of asking for her hand, but Randolph cuts him off. They aren't proposing today, they just need to ask her something very important. Broken windows, desolate alleys, beggars line every dark corner as they walk. Nearby, a massive, grieving crowd prays desperately around a towering stone monument in the center. Isabella quietly whispers that this entire place feels like they walked into a massive funeral. She asks if he recognizes any names, but he quietly lies and says he does not. Yet he knows exactly why they died. 500 names are carved on that stone. Every single one belonged to a loyal knight who followed him on that great expedition. Back then, he never cared to learn their names or show any respect. Faceless, unimportant, to him they were just basic, nameless game characters. They bled and died for his cause, yet he dismissed it all as mechanics. Suddenly, a grieving mother collapses, screaming curses at Wilhelm to return her son. He had promised her son would return safe, telling her not to worry. Randolph approaches. Isabella calls out in worry, but the mother simply continues her desperate screaming. Suddenly, she collapses. Her strength fades away into complete darkness. Randolph catches her limp body before she hits the ground, shocking the villagers. Panicked cries ring out that Grandma May has fainted, and Isabella rushes over. He calmly instructs them to carry her straight to the church relief station. Dozens of patients, Hudson notes the staggering amount of sick people. Yet there are barely any staff members around to assist this massive, overwhelming crowd. He wonders how a major, prosperous city could possibly be so severely understaffed. Poor management seems likely. A nearby priest approaches, asking if they brought Sister May. He praises their rare kindness, noting they could have easily ignored her and walked past. Hudson smiles back, initially charmed by the priest, but the man suddenly leans closer. He whispers that keeping this place running requires a rather hefty donation. In fact, a small sum of 50 gold coins would be a great help. Randolph interjects, pointing out that a church shelter should be funded by the treasury. Massive amounts of gold move through Arcana daily, making this heavy demand ridiculous. Demanding an ordinary citizen's entire monthly salary as a donation is absolute greed. The priest sighs and claims they have absolutely no other choice to keep operating. Extortion, not him. Andrew is a high-ranking priest who serves faithfully. He is actually a high-ranking servant of the twin goddesses, Li and Pina. This legendary quest giver is known for his devout, wise, and incredibly upright nature. Finding someone like him resorting to extortion means something is deeply, dangerously wrong. It turns out Andrew is secretly taking personal donations under the table. Crumbling slums, homeless people on streets, and even this neglected clinic, it just doesn't add up for a supposedly rich territory. Randolph wonders what went wrong, and honestly, things are about to get weirder. Across town, a table is loaded with expensive drinks while a secretary protests. Warning him that he has had too much, the Lord throws a bottle at the butler. Ordering him to shut up now, Marquis Weiser screams, demanding more alcohol. Meanwhile, Randolph sizes up the clinic. He demands to speak directly to the priest. The helper looks surprised, muttering that a massive crowd is already waiting. Everyone is waiting for the priest, but Randolph simply calls for Hudson. Hudson steps forward and tosses a heavy pouch containing 50,000 gold coins onto the desk. He promises to double that entire sum if they can see the priest right this second. The helper's eyes instantly light up. He eagerly offers to escort them inside. Inside a dusty library, Andrew introduces himself to our heroes. He invites them to sit. Andrew mentions he heard about the massive donation. Randolph bluntly points out that they usually charge 50 gold pieces. He figured a standard bribe would not get him through the door. Andrew sighs, asking if they are disgusted by a greedy old priest. He claims he is truly ashamed. Randolph says he is just curious about something. How did a clinic in such a massive, wealthy city end up so desperate for cash? Andrew sits up straight. He shifts the topic to Sister May. He knows Randolph brought her in, her only son left for the demonic continent, on a grand expedition, but he never made it back. She is not alone in her grief. Countless local families lost their loved ones, because the brave knights who followed Wilhelm vanished forever. The military lost its brightest talents, draining the city's war funds. It was a wealthy place that could have recovered, but then Serengeti returned. The Marquis's relative returned with both of her legs completely gone. Even worse, she remains trapped in an endless, deep coma. Every priest tried to wake her, but no healing magic worked. Due to the extreme medical costs, the entire city went broke. Scammers took advantage of the desperate Marquis, drowning him in debt. He used his own land as collateral before losing everything. With the Lord ruined, all medical funding stopped. This is the last clinic left. If they close down, all the poor patients will be left to die. That is why they ruthlessly demand money from anyone walking through the door. They are completely out of beds, medicine, and staff. Randolph nods in understanding. He suggests Serengeti's coma might be a mental or physical issue. Andrew shakes his head. If it were that simple, they would have cured her. It feels more like a dark curse, which is far beyond their holy magic. A dark curse, Randolph thinks to himself. Can Isabella break this dark spell with her divine blessing? Randolph politely thanks the priest, calmly declaring that he has some urgent business to settle with the Marquis. Please wait, Andrew begs, completely caught off guard. The ruined lord has completely shut himself away from everyone. He can't call it a reward for the money, but if Randolph gives him a few days, he will arrange a meeting. Randolph says he lacks the time. Don't worry about the gold, he already got exactly what he paid for. Suddenly, a loud voice calls out. Someone yells from the door that her ladyship wants the donor brought in immediately. Randolph just smirks. Classic bring money, get instant access. He turns on his heel to leave. But Andrew stops him. Regardless of his reasons, he is deeply grateful for the help. Randolph shrugs, it wasn't his gold anyway. But Andrew shakes his head. This is about saving May. That earns a genuine smile from Randolph. It is good to see Andrew again. Andrew is left totally confused. Meanwhile, over at the Grand Palace of Weiser, Isabella and Hudson face the guards while Randolph sits at the dining table. The Marquis sips his tea quietly, staring across with a freezing glare. Weiser silently doubts this stranger actually donated 100,000 gold coins. With no supplies in sight, he looks like some wealthy young master. He apologizes for the abrupt invite, introducing himself with a cold nod. As Weiser, Lord of the Garden of Knights, Randolph watches him closely. Time has changed him. Once, Weiser was a legendary knight. His skills were unmatched back then. With his guidance, he helped his daughter Serengeti transcend, reaching the absolute top. She became a continental powerhouse. Because of that, the House of Weiser cemented its dominant influence and power in the kingdom. Baldurin itself bowed to them. In gratitude, Weiser swore eternal loyalty. He was a man who settled grudges with steel and repaid kindness with absolute loyalty. But now Randolph wonders if his heart has corrupted along with his body. Marquis speaks up, assuming Randolph already knows why he was invited. With Weiser's garden facing financial ruin, he wants to propose a deal. Randolph flatly declines, saying his only goal is to heal Serengeti. Weiser stares in shock, but then he suddenly bursts into hysterical laughter. He mockingly admits he was wrong to assume he was just a spoiled rich kid. Rumors say that if you mention his daughter, he will throw gold at you. Desperate fathers are easy targets after all. He glares with boiling fury. He shouts with absolute rage, demanding to know how much this scam will cost him. Slamming the table hard, Weiser declares he is sick of lying parasites. He has lost far too much to trust another swindler promising empty cures. Calling it a waste of time, Weiser orders guards to gouge his eyes out. Randolph remains completely unfazed, telling the old man he has no interest in gold. He urges him to listen. There are no guarantees, but there is a chance. Weiser sneers at the claims, asking what possible motive he could have. Randolph explains that he is simply here to settle a debt and collect one. He introduces himself as the true successor to Wilhelm, the legendary Night King. The successor demands to be taken to his daughter to ask a vital question. In return for that answer, he promises to completely heal her failing body. Weiser laughs, mocking him for claiming to be the Night King's heir. The continent is absolutely crawling with fake heroes chasing that famous title. No mercy, the cold-hearted lord orders his guards to execute Randolph and his allies outside. A soldier draws his steel. Randolph simply shifts his cold, calm gaze. Clang, he slams his teacup down, instantly blocking the deadly strike. Set up the arena, he demands an immediate chance to prove his royal heritage to everyone. He is Wilhelm's true heir. High above, Weiser watches with keen interest. Now they face off in the arena. Hudson wonders what could possibly spark such a duel. Isabella smiles. She notes that Randolph has always been completely unpredictable. Randolph stretches his neck, time to analyze his heavy-armored opponent. Divine defenses. The heavy armor is blessed by a high-level priest specifically for this battle. The knight sneers, asking if he truly represents the legendary ruler. Speak the truth. If you're lying, confess your sins now and beg for our mercy. It does not matter. Randolph tells him to keep one simple vow. Stay silent. Do not dare tell anyone who handed you this defeat. I swear it. The brave soldier pledges his knightly honor and lunges straight at his opponent. He thrusts. He wants to see the self-proclaimed successor's true power. Randolph slips past the blade. Damn, this guy is seriously fast. The knight shifts. He sweeps his heavy blade back to secure a clean, decisive victory. Randolph evades. Elite knights died during the expedition. Yet even this random guard boasts superior raw stats right now. Bad odds. The massive difference in gear makes this extremely dangerous. No holding back. The knight locks his blade to prevent Randolph from drawing his weapon. A heavy blow descends. The arc approaches, forcing Randolph to grind his teeth. Crack, he blocks the heavy descending hilt of the sword directly with his bare skull. Unbelievable. Who in their right mind blocks a blade with their skull? He is definitely no fraud. Randolph is a fully certified madman glaring with murderous intent. Crude moves. Watching from above, Weiser scoffs at the desperate struggle. Just cheap tricks. He has seen far too many fakes claim the throne over the years. They want clout, but the true Night King's swordsmanship is absolute. It is peerless. Having witnessed it firsthand, it completely surpasses human logic. Prove it without showing that legendary level of sword mastery. He is absolutely no successor. Clashing steel, the guard parries his strikes, noting his genuine talent. Stop lying. Admit your grand mistakes right now, and I will let you join my command. I will beg mercy. I can ask the Lord to forgive your sins. Randolph laughs. He mockingly calls the guard far too confident despite not having one yet. Orders are orders. The guard insists he is simply fulfilling his duty. Talk is cheap. Randolph cuts his apology short with a high kick. Now look, Randolph draws his second blade, ready to finally reveal his own legendary power. He lunges. The swift attack completely catches the armored guard off guard. Tossing Michela's sword aside, he suddenly unsheathes two heavy iron blades. Dual wielding, Hudson stares in complete disbelief, wondering where on earth he acquired those swords. Strike after strike, Randolph relentlessly pressures the guard with heavy blows. Faster, the guard realizes the terrifying gap between his enemy's heavy strikes is shrinking rapidly. No damage, the heavy armor only takes minor scratches from the onslaught. Too weak, a slow two-handed weapon at least offers heavy, reliable armor penetration in battle. These dual blades simply lack the raw strength to pierce thick steel. The opponent tries defending just a few key spots, but Randolph cleanly slices right through his blade. The soldier stands there frozen, completely unable to understand what just happened. Randolph yanks Michela's sword from the dirt as the soldier asks if he even changed at all. Randolph tells him to watch closely. He will show him the true style of the Night King. The legendary style of the Night King, see back in the Tower of Spirits. He could select 2 rewards, but then something unusual caught his eye. An experience boost is active, all thanks to his extreme iron sword. It is a transcendent version, meaning its raw stats are lower, but the passive effects are insane. He can choose 2 rewards, while unlocking the extreme set bonus at the same time. Just like that, he claims the weapons, instantly leveling up his entire arsenal of skills. Their power is amplified, and he can now access memories from his own constellation. This lets him recreate the ultimate style of the Night King, Wilhelm. Back in reality, Randolph presses the attack. The soldier desperately tries to block. He struggles under the heavy, non-stop onslaught until Randolph completely shatters his guard. The soldier is baffled. What kind of crazy footwork is this? He is completely on the defensive. He desperately needs to back off and make space, but Randolph is not having it. Randolph asks how it feels to be trapped in invisible threads, because if he tries to run, Randolph just closes the gap instantly with dual blades, and if the soldier tries using brute force, Randolph shuts it down with a heavy two-handed sword. The soldier wonders if such an erratic style even exists, completely free from traditional forms. No fixed stance, it is like space itself obeys him, leaving everyone watching completely speechless, slipping into a state where they can do absolutely nothing but watch in awe. This goes for every single spectator on the field, including the knight fighting him. Suddenly, a shallow cut appears on his throat, the work of the Sword King's secret art. The world-ending strike, as the thick smoke finally begins to clear, Randolph remains in his fighting stance while his opponent drops his blade, clutching his bleeding neck. The soldier quietly admits that he has lost this battle to Randolph. Randolph catches his breath with his head low, then loudly asks if they need more proof. The shocked secretary quickly calls out to his master, while Weiser turns to Lucas. He commands him to treat this warrior with utmost respect, bowing low before him. Recognizing Randolph as the true successor to the legendary knight, Wilhelm, inside quiet white bedroom in the manor, Serengeti lies asleep as her father explains. She has been completely unresponsive ever since they got back from the great expedition. He tried everything to wake her, seeking out rare elixirs and the best healers. But the dark curse is simply too strong. Randolph looks down at the sleeping girl, activating his great sage ability to scan her. Sure enough, it is the demon King's curse. Even the legendary saint and holy emperor would fail to cure this. But a precise exorcism using stellar energy might actually do the trick. Weiser believes his claim but anxiously asks if she can be woken up. Randolph replies that he will try just once, gently placing his hand near her forehead. He then channels the blessing of the stars into her, shocking the Marquis. Meanwhile, all of Randolph's own stellar energy is completely drained, which still is not enough to shatter the curse. However, the dark bind is temporarily weakened, and Serengeti slowly opens her eyes, asking where she is. Weiser can only grit his teeth, leaning over the bed to ask if she is truly awake, his daughter quietly. Her father asks softly if she recognizes him, but Serengeti turns toward Hudson, leaving her father entirely confused. He demands to know who this man is. Hudson grinds his teeth before begging for her forgiveness right now. He calls her name, hoping against hope that she can hear him. He believed joining the council would finally bring him the recognition he needed. Even if she lost both her legs, he would carry her. He promised to protect her forever, as long as she was still breathing. Hudson believed that if he did not give up, an opportunity would eventually appear. But that was nothing more than arrogance. Opportunities do not last forever. Serengeti's weak body continues to lose its remaining vitality. Those once powerful, strong arms are fading fast. They look like dry branches now. If he had arrived any later, he would have lost her forever, so he begs for forgiveness once more. Weiser demands to know what he is to his daughter. Randolph steps in. He stops them, noting that while Hudson is emotional, the curse is active. The Marquis panics, asking if his daughter might fall right back asleep. Randolph explains he can only maintain her current state for a short while. To break this curse, he absolutely needs another stellar body. His stellar energy must be much stronger. He only has two ways forward. He must level up or recover those 5 lost stars, high stakes indeed. His successor class has a secret effect, allowing him to read past memories. He needs to recover them immediately, if someone else gets them first. He might lose those memories forever. Thankfully, he already has one. That leaves 4 more to find. He must ask Serengeti about his death. So he asks everyone to leave so they can speak in private. He needs to discuss this alone. Meanwhile, the Marquis meets with Hudson. Weiser asks if they actually promised to marry each other. Hudson nods. He apologizes for keeping it hidden, but the Marquis sighs heavily. He is grateful that Hudson came for his daughter, but there is more. He tells Hudson he can never see his daughter again. Hudson is completely crushed by this. He pleads, promising he will join the council soon and prove his worth. But Weiser replies that his status is not the issue here at all. The disastrous expedition ruined them, leaving them in debt. They were reduced to begging for help, desperately searching for any way to save their home. That was when the powerful house of Duke Sion approached them with aid. The wealthy duke offered an enormous sum on one condition: they must send Serengeti to him. They had no choice because keeping her alive was their top priority. He believed the duke would protect her, even if she never woke up. His high status would prevent him from ever abandoning her. Therefore, in 1 month she will be sent away to the house of Duke Sion. It was unavoidable. Hudson must forget her completely. Later, back in her room, Serengeti quietly asks Randolph who he is. He introduces himself as the true successor to the legendary and powerful King of Knights. He explains he has come to deliver news of his final moments. Serengeti gasps, calling his claims a total lie. Has no successor, he realizes this is just what he should expect from his closest ally. She would never fall for such empty words. To prove himself, he tells her about the day she stood before a star for the first time. She was constantly worried that absorbing that power and becoming a transcendent would make her stop being Serengeti. Back then, he just could not understand the deep anxiety she felt. But now he understands. She only wanted to protect her love for Hudson. Serengeti gasps, that is a secret only the two of them share. Randolph goes on, telling her how he gave her words of encouragement. The woman is absolutely stunned by his words. In the past, she had only turned away while Wilhelm pushed her, telling her to shut up and just take the star. Serengeti whispers that he truly is Wilhelm. Randolph replies that his circumstances and face have completely changed, but yes, indeed. It is him. He tells her he can share even more secrets if she wants. He reflects that the comforting memory was just one of 26 programmed expressions that triggered when he pressed control and a key. Yet, thanks to the hidden effect of the star successor class, the memory feels incredibly real, almost like it actually happened. Of course, the gesture was not truly his, but one that showed Wilhelm's true personality. Serengeti notes he is not the type of man to speak so softly to others, so this is proof enough, then asks if he has become a sinner. Randolph nods, and she warns him to watch out for hunters. Players who take over bodies while keeping their past memories are branded as sinners, and the non-player characters specializing in hunting them are known as hunters or reapers. Randolph says that despite his constant broods on it, and get this, there is still one massive mystery about his end. On that fateful day, he absolutely ended the Demon King's life. He remembers driving the path of light directly into the monster's core, starting his disintegration. But at the very last second, a crushing pressure surrounded everyone, and time itself just ground to a halt. Soon after, he lost consciousness, dying right there in the dark. Now he needs Serengeti to reveal the real truth behind how he actually died that day. The great expedition led by Wilhelm was an army of 200,000 elite soldiers boasting peak morale and backed by years of preparation based on exhaustive strategic data, mapping out a plan to handle every possible variable flawlessly. You would think everything was perfect, but oh, how wrong that was. Serengeti is left legless, looking up into the sky. A dying priestess begs her to keep pushing forward, sacrificing her own soul for a blessing. Another soldier says it is painful, but this is his absolute limit, urging her to press on anyway. Or a mangled warrior telling them they must not stop. Serengeti weeps. Knowing she has to keep moving, she realizes that even after sacrificing so many brave souls as stepping stones, they still cannot even reach the Demon King. Hordes of undead begin clawing out of the dirt. They march toward the great expedition, striking as if they know every single strategy. That is impossible. Without a high-ranking spy feeding them information, from the start, the Grand Army is doomed to crumble from the inside out. She wonders if their quest is just an impossible nightmare, but the protagonist steps forward to illuminate everything. He shouts that it is far from over, drawing every zombie toward the blinding light. A split second later, the horde is completely vaporized. Wilhelm tells her she looks exhausted. He gently tells her to rest, promising that this nightmare will soon be over. Serengeti is absolutely stunned. The legendary god of war stands right before her. His presence is absolute. Honestly, you almost feel sorry for the demons. Just one strike from this man is enough to reshape the entire battlefield. Even as absolute despair whispers defeat, his blade slices right through it. He shatters that despair with one sword, keeping his cold gaze fixed ahead. Wilhelm marches forward, carrying Serengeti in his arms. She mutters for him to stop. She insists her body has mostly healed, but Wilhelm tells her to stay still. He wants her to save her strength. Aside from one injured ally, they are alone. Since everyone else was forced to retreat, the two of them are the only ones left. He jokes that she must survive because she cries for her beloved Hudson every night. Serengeti snaps back that she never cried, though she definitely intends to return. But suddenly, a glowing magic circle begins to manifest right beneath their feet. Serengeti looks down in shock. Wilhelm just smiles, admitting this game is pretty tough. She screams his name as the god of war tells her to live a happy life. Go get married, start a relationship, but whatever you do, you must survive. Serengeti realizes she can live. The King of Knights literally gave her a lifeline. Even if she returns all alone, nobody could ever blame her for fleeing this hell. That is just how grotesque and brutal this battle has been for them. She could return to the man she loves and live out a peaceful, happy existence. Escaping this place alive is her only ticket to seeing her beloved Hudson again. But inside, Serengeti whispers an apology. She activates her position swap skill instead. He is completely caught off guard. Talk about an insane plot twist. The magic circle detonates. Wilhelm emerges from the smoke, utterly stunned. He looks down to see Serengeti lying on the ground, both her legs gone. She rasps that she was lucky. The trap did not completely obliterate her entire body. Despite losing her limbs, that powerful healing elixir kept her clinging to life. Wilhelm realizes he acted impulsively. Even in this game, he made a dramatic exit. It was a spectacular departure. She notes that Wilhelm protected her with a talisman. By placing the Supreme Protection Talisman on her, he kept her completely safe. Because of that, the Demon King never noticed her, letting her watch everything unfold. Randolph nods, remembering up to that exact moment, but that is not his question. He wants to know what followed next. The companion guesses his curiosity. The Demon King appeared immediately afterward, matching his memories of the battle perfectly. The beast was defeated, but then Wilhelm froze as if time itself had stopped. Even with his weapon buried deep in the enemy, he was completely paralyzed. A 5-star transcendent foolishly believed he could win without the goddess watching him. That arrogance was the fatal error that ultimately cost him his entire life. Without her divine authority, you can shatter my flesh but never destroy my soul. The Demon King offers his respect to the god of war, discarding his flesh. He claims the mighty body of Wilhelm as a new vessel, releasing chaotic energy. The dark aura spirals into a raging typhoon, only to be pierced by light. It is destroyed instantly. The Demon King mutters in disbelief that this is impossible. The Demon King is actually a star who planned to slaughter everyone, but he couldn't do it. Because Wilhelm is a god too. Right after, Wilhelm collapses unconscious, leaving the Demon King screaming for blood and revenge, while the god of war lies completely helpless on the ground. Serengeti admits she has absolutely no memory of what went down after that chaotic moment. Randolph pieces it all together. The Demon King definitely tried to steal Wilhelm's physical body, but a goddess stepped in to save him. He desperately needs to find out what is actually happening. Meanwhile, at the massive kingdom wall, board guards complain about how dull their shift is. Another guard grumbles that all low-ranking soldiers are going to face massive pay delays. Supposedly, the brass cannot even schedule the shifts right, making everything a complete mess. Nobody wants to stay in this rotting outpost anyway. His buddy agrees with a heavy sigh. Why the miserable talk, his colleague asks, but then strange shadows appear in the heavy mist. The guard pales, screaming at the top of his lungs that monsters are coming, as horrific creatures rush the barrier. Frantic alarms shout that a massive monster wave has hit them. They are under siege. A long time ago, a brutal war between light and darkness began in Pangaea. The benevolent goddess Lee lost her life in that conflict, plunging the continent into suffocating darkness. Ever since, the lands have been totally isolated from one another, with every single road blocked by a terrifying black void. To bridge these severed lands, people poured astronomical amounts of money into developing massive portals. Essentially, these portals became their absolute lifeline, though they remained highly volatile and mysterious ancient structures. If left abandoned, they trigger a link to the void, causing absolute catastrophe. Back in the present, Randolph sits quietly in a dimly lit room with Serengeti. Analyzing her story, he realizes the Demon King definitely tried to possess his body and Pina stepped in to stop it. He still has endless questions. But putting the puzzle together, the only reason he failed to slay the demon king was his computer hitting a blue screen, yet Serengeti witnessed every second of it. Meaning the game world did not stop, so perhaps for some bizarre reason, active players were actively blocked from landing the killing blow on the demon king, since only an actual living soul inside this world can truly destroy his essence. That must be the exact reason why they got pulled directly into this world. And if losing a life in-game is what triggers this physical summoning, then Wilhelm was not his first character, losing his absolute strongest hero made him the player. He always loved brutal, hardcore games and would constantly roll new characters, instantly abandoning them if they turned out weak. Through that process, the power gap grew, and his average characters never triggered a summoning. It is just a theory, but it makes the most sense. Now he knows exactly what needs to be done. First, hunt down those damn traitors. They sabotaged his expedition, predicting his every move. That requires inside info. It is highly likely the culprits are those 8 heroes he barely even remembers. He will track down and break every single bastard who crossed him. And second, if he failed to obliterate the Demon King's essence, it is probably still out there. He will drag the Demon King down himself and end this nightmare once and for all. Suddenly, a frantic voice screams for the Star Bearer. It's Hudson, shouting that everything is going to hell because monsters are actively breaching the city. Peering outside, he sees absolute chaos as vicious beasts swarm the central monument. Guards try to protect their knightly honor, but they quickly fall. They die instantly. Isabella warns that this massive invasion resembles a major portal wave. The horde looks like a massive monster wave from a nearby gate. Randolph gets suspicious. He knew Marquis Weiser spoke of a ruined city, yet the man withdrew portal maintenance funds anyway. With the defense money gone, knights charge on horseback to fight the monsters. Clashing with lances and swords, Randolph suddenly spots and shouts for Marquis Weiser. Marquis turns, calling him Wilhelm's successor, surprised he is still inside the city. Randolph immediately demands answers about the chaos, and the Marquis quickly explains the situation. Monsters tear everything apart, total chaos. Something went terribly wrong here. The 3 portals in the east, south, and west have all collapsed simultaneously. 3 gates at once. Hudson panics while Randolph knows it is sheer madness. Admitting his shame, the desperate Marquis begs them to lend their strength to this battle. Their legendary combat skills would be an incredible help in securing the city. Defending the citizens offers immense honor, massive experience, and a reward that keeps growing. The faster they clear the wave, the higher the payout. Randolph wonders if Weiser is insane. Weiser pleads for assistance, shouting that the current defense forces cannot handle this alone. Hudson begs for help. Serengeti's territory is on the line. Isabella firmly replies that they cannot let emotions dictate their actions. Randolph silently realizes they are facing the absolute worst possible scenario here. They are managing against ordinary monsters for now, but that comfort is temporary. Wait 10 minutes. If a hybrid appears, they will be completely annihilated. A hybrid is an unstoppable threat that nobody present can hope to defeat. The only option is to destroy the 3 portals before that timer runs out. They must clear the quest in under 10 minutes, which is practically impossible. Their actual combat strength is far too low. The city soldiers are occupied. With the guards busy, the knights and their trio must break the massive monster wave. It is an extreme long shot, but the golden scale shop upgrade is crucial. Since it is tied to synchronization, he simply cannot afford to give up. The timing is horrific, and they have absolutely zero preparation for this sudden crisis. Still, there is no viable path to complete the main quest here, making this useless. He won't die for nothing, but then a sound pierces the smoke. Detachment is fine, until a sudden, blood-curdling scream completely changes his mind. People are trapped in the fire, losing their lives to low-level goblins. The cruel monsters strike their victims from behind while the crowd flees in terror. Children weep helplessly in the middle of a gruesome, blood-soaked street. A woman begs for salvation. Randolph watches the horror, clenching his fists. Randolph clenches his fist, fighting his cold instincts. Suddenly, Weiser gasps in shock. He spots Priest Andrew running through the chaos, carrying an injured man. Weiser orders his knights to follow him and protect the fleeing priest. Drawing his golden sword, Weiser easily slaughters a pursuing monster. He tells Andrew to grab a horse, saying they cannot possibly save everyone. Andrew refuses to leave. Suddenly, a goblin lunges from his side. Andrew freezes in shock, but Isabella steps in and kills the monster. Weiser is stunned by her speed. Andrew relievedly calls out to his sister. As they group up, Randolph steps forward, noting that things are about to get incredibly difficult. Anyone wanting to back out can leave. Hudson steps up to help protect. Serengeti, Isabella snorts, as if things ever actually calm down. Calm down, Randolph sighs. He admits he needs help on this suicide mission. That no sane person would ever accept. There is no way they finish. With the city in ruins, but Randolph has other reasons. Pity? No, he does not feel responsible for this city. He is not doing this for the family of his crippled subordinate, either. It is not even out of guilt for the lives lost on his watch. He is just a madman hooked on adrenaline, and honestly, that is exactly what they need. From now on, they are splitting this wave of monsters right down the middle. The horses thunder forward, led by Marquis Weiser. They charge straight into the massive horde. A panicked soldier screams, "Are they really going to keep charging like this? If they fail, they will be cut off and surrounded," he cries out. To the Marquis again, Weiser knows this is a suicide run. But Randolph's words echo in his mind. He had tried to argue that a frontal assault is impossible. They will be isolated and slaughtered. But Randolph simply asked if there was any other choice. As long as those teleporters inside the walls stand, the horde will keep coming. It is not about whether they can win, they must. He promised to clear the path, so no matter what happens, they cannot retreat. Weiser roars at his men to keep their speed up. Never stop moving, even as a colossal tentacle crashes down right before them. Weiser decides to trust him completely, the true successor of Wilhelm. Randolph grins. The old man actually did it. Now they are close enough to strike. He hurls his spear, cleanly slicing off a massive tentacle. The beast thrashes in panic. In that split second, Randolph activates the teleport book. Suddenly, a group of druids materializes. The portal connects directly to Bast Rock Forest. The High Druid steps forward, vowing to repay his debt to the forest. Just like that, a deadly rain of arrows tears into the beastly swarm. Weiser looks back in shock. Hudson laughs. The druids arrived, and Randolph actually had a hidden trump card. Talk about bringing the ultimate backup at the perfect time. Honestly, he never expected their friendship to pay off so heavily. Druid loyalty is absolute. Once they trust you, they never back down, stopping at. That forest was incredibly lucky. Now, it is time to show these monsters the power of allies. The druid leader draws his massive bow, targeting the giant beast blocking the way. He knows his friends need a straight path. Through channeling his raw mana, he tells Randolph not to worry. Just charge ahead because he will keep his promise and carve a path. The glowing arrow tears through the air, heading straight for the octopus beast. At blinding speed, the moment it hits, a massive explosion erupts, vaporizing everything around it. Monster limbs and corpses rain from the sky. The battlefield is completely decimated, a scene of absolute devastation. But it worked. The cavalry has a clear opening, gritting their teeth. The soldiers ride hard through the smoking gap. One shouts in relief. We made it, Hudson roars in triumph, while Isabella mutters that they barely just destroy that teleporter and it is all over. Still, Randolph can barely believe how easily they cleared a path. Realizing this is the terrifying power of a level 9 raid. Boss Weiser shouts at them to stay focused, warning that it is far too early to celebrate. Since the monster horde is not done yet, he warns they only have about 6 minutes before the hybrid emerges, meaning they have to destroy all 3 teleporters. Now they will split into 3 separate units, but Randolph cuts in, proposing they split into only 2. Weiser argues that they cannot leave a teleporter completely unguarded, but Randolph replies that he knows the risks, but even with the druids keeping the horde under control, a massive army of monsters will still guard those teleporters. If they split into 3 different groups, they will never destroy them in time. No way. Whichever way they look at it, 2 units is their absolute limit. Weiser immediately questions what happens to the remaining teleporter, since there is simply not enough time to destroy one and then rush to another. Randolph remains silent. To this point, instead, he declares he will go with only Priest Andrew by his side, which Weiser instantly calls ridiculous, but Randolph firmly asks them to trust him, stating it is the choice with the highest chance of success. However, they absolutely must destroy those teleporters 30 seconds before the hybrid emerges, or even sooner. The Marquis agrees to trust his word, stepping forward while counting on the protagonist to deliver. Hudson remarks that Randolph must have a plan this time, too, while Isabella tells him not to ever doubt them. She adds that he always pulls off the unimaginable and will surely succeed. Andrew anxiously asks what their plan is and how they will do it, but Randolph simply tells him they are going to destroy that teleporter. He needs him quiet because he is working out the details right now. He tracks Isabella, Hudson, and the old man as they head toward the other 2 teleporters. There will be monsters protecting those sites, but fewer of them. If each team pushes hard, they can easily destroy them easily. The real issue, the mutant monster waiting at the final remaining portal, which triggers the Black Warrior's final attack pattern. This is a beast on a completely different level from the standard ones, meaning he must be the one to face it. Leaving this fight to anyone else is just too risky. Uncertainty, the absolute minimum time needed to slay it is 30 seconds, with a priest like Andrew offering support. It might just be possible, but any delay ruins everything. Their chances will completely plummet. Now all he can do is trust that they will succeed. Just as Andrew spots what looks like a Hydragon, the withered hybrid has 5 minutes left before it appears. The timer rapidly drops down to 4 minutes, then to 3 minutes and 12 seconds, and then a mere 1 minute and 4 seconds, reaching a critical count of 34 seconds. From deep inside that last portal, the Hydragon emerges with 30 seconds remaining. Randolph realizes that with this, the minimum conditions have finally been met. All that remains now is the teleport. Since the mutant's dark energy is detected, he is set to emerge immediately, triggering a massive explosion across the battlefield as the mutant monster enters the area. The Black Warrior appears, casting a freezing gaze at the fighters, though he quickly notices something off. Randolph silently notes that only 1 portal remains, just 1 more. Empowered by the priest's holy buffs, the Black Flesh hybrid still has some time left before its final appearance, with exactly 28 seconds remaining. Beneath the city's overcast sky, heavy rain begins falling on the soldiers as they charge hard toward the With only the last portal left, the Marquis realizes Wilhelm's successor is protecting him. Time is quickly running out. They have to hurry while Randolph equips his armor. The celestial dragon set activates, and he bursts forward with terrifying speed. He stares down the terrifying beast with a gaze of absolute ice. With the speed boost from his Hermes boots, Randolph instantly appears behind the monster. He swings his blade directly toward the portal, but the Black Warrior grabs him. He tosses Randolph aside like a ragdoll, completely throwing him off balance. Even so, Randolph struggles to find his footing as a strange blue energy erupts before him. A horde of monsters lunges at him with incredible speed, swarming him from every side. It is a cheap, coordinated ambush, but he retaliates with a series of blinding slashes. The reinforced Hydragon falls, triggering a 1-day cooldown, while the Black Warrior stands tall. Only 21 seconds left. The countdown is truly terrifying. Randolph charges forward once again, preparing to strike a decisive blow. The Black Warrior dodges his blade, drawing a massive iron sword to face him. quickly retreats, spinning its heavy weapon and slicing deep into Randolph's arm. But the wound heals almost instantly, thanks to Father Andrew's powerful holy buffs. The Black Warrior swings its weapon again, releasing a powerful blast of dark energy. Randolph is sent flying. Just 17 seconds remain before that hybrid creature arrives. Father Andrew is left completely speechless by the sheer scale of the battle. Suddenly, the Black Warrior shifts its target and rushes directly toward the priest. Andrew freezes in absolute terror, but Randolph instantly flashes in to block the blow. The powerful impact throws Father Andrew backward, directly into a swarm of hungry monsters. But Randolph cuts them down instantly, keeping the priest safe from their claws. They are completely surrounded, and that massive Black Warrior is still closing in. Randolph activates Star Piercer, a skill stuck at level 1 that leaves Andrew stunned. Our hero unleashes his dual-wield technique, moving with terrifying, blinding speed. The Black Warrior struggles to keep up as their blades clash in a furious duel. The countdown ticks to 11 seconds, and honestly, the tension is through the roof. A massive explosion rocks the battlefield, and fresh blood splatters onto the cold ground. Randolph effortlessly parries the Black Warrior's desperate attack and counters instantly. He drives his blade straight through the silent monster, ending its threat for good. He smiles. Finally, it will stay quiet and far away from everyone. He yells out for Priest Andrew to begin the prayer of adoration right now. He demands the priest pray only to him, to worship him directly. With only 4 minutes left on the clock, they advance with the Hydreigon leading. Andrew nervously asks if the two of them can really pull this off. He admits he wants to trust Randolph, but this insane situation is completely overwhelming. Randolph explains that with enough time they would be fine, but they are severely limited. His current skills just are not fast enough, leaving Andrew to ask why they came alone. He warns Randolph that if they fail this mission, everyone back in the city will die. Randolph counters, "If you want to save everyone, pray to me." The prayer of adoration is a sacred ritual usually reserved only for the goddess. It requires a high-ranking priest who shares a deep, direct connection with her. If this forbidden ritual is offered to a mortal instead of the deity, the recipient temporarily gains godlike power, but the cost of such heretic magic is steep. That prayer of adoration is a final act. It means the priest is permanently abandoned. Andrew is a non-player character made only to serve her, being cast aside by his deity. Hurts worse than a physical blade to the heart, total devastation. Randolph realizes this final prayer demands everything, a true gamble. He is practically asking him to destroy his own existence. Andrew asks how he even knows of this secret. It is a sacred rite shared only with a chosen few. Randolph tells him that none of that matters right now. Andrew whispers that if he knows the heavy price. Randolph nods. He built this entire strategy on that sacrifice. Only a broken belief could open a path to victory. It is a dark plan, knowing the priest cannot say no. Andrew would never abandon his flock. Randolph knows this too well. It is essentially holding his people hostage to force his hand. Yet instead of anger, Andrew offers tears of quiet gratitude. If Randolph remained silent, Andrew would have lived with eternal guilt. He would have saved no one, so he sincerely thanks him. Randolph is completely stunned. This non-player character, normally used to farm easy honor quests, is actually a deeply noble saint of Pangaea. Randolph holds absolute respect for him. Suddenly, a blue system window flashes. The ultimate prayer activates. Massive waves of raw power flood his body. Every single stat explodes to godly levels in an instant. But because Randolph is low level, the giant buff is severely limited. The system clamps down. The enhancement will only last for 2 seconds, but with these stats, he can copy Wilhelm himself. He tells the beast to watch closely. This is a rare show. His past self would never waste such legendary sword art on trash. The raindrops freeze in midair. A massive wave of energy erupts. The absolute sword style of the Night King, Wilhelm, takes over. Under the pressure, the Dark Warrior starts dissolving. This is Heaven's Cleaver. A clean, magnificent strike that splits the sky right down the middle. The terrified villagers look up. Everyone stands in pure, breathless awe. Andrew is in total disbelief at the godlike display before him. Randolph calls out to the priest, "You saved this city." Now he shatters the portal. The raid took exactly 9 minutes and 59 seconds. With dozens of new buffs, the Void mission is finally complete. Years ago, Father Andrew met the legendary Night King, Wilhelm. He begged the mighty hero to please hear an old priest's play. He needed someone to save his poor, cursed daughter from a nightmare. Young Andesar was corrupted by dark magic, turning into an eldritch monster. Even in her horrific state, he loved her and could not let her go. So he locked her underground, far from the world, but the corruption grew. Demonic energy became too much to handle alone, forcing secret help. He needed to find a powerful warrior who could cleanse her in secret. Someone with enough honor to keep this dark secret hidden from the world. After some time had passed, Wilhelm finally turned to face the man. He quickly orders him to lead the way, opening the door to the inner room. There stands the young girl, her face disfigured and her eyes completely black. Wilhelm asks if this is her, and Andrew desperately begs him for help. The King of Nights steps forward, promising that he will purify her. Wilhelm was indeed the savior who had rescued both him and his daughter. Now Randolph finally forces the Black Legion to retreat back into the abyss. Stunned, Andrew asks how he can wield Wilhelm's legendary sword techniques. Randolph simply replies that he is indeed the legendary hero's successor. Andrew is amazed, never dreaming he would be saved by the master's disciple. But the strain is too much. Andrew suddenly coughs up blood and collapses. Randolph rushes over to the priest, urgently asking if he is all right. Andrew weakly explains that his sacred power vanished after using that desperate prayer. Without his divine energy, the deadly illness he had been suppressing is back. Randolph realizes his condition is critical. It is a long shot, but he must try. He mentions hearing about the help Andrew once received from his master, Wilhelm. In return, Randolph notes, the priest had granted Wilhelm a sacred indulgence. The King of Nights vowed to carry those burdens and use that very pardon. Now Randolph declares that he officially forgives all of Andrew's past sins. An indulgence is a rare pardon that a high priest can grant only 3 times. In this world's lore, it is a power that forgives almost any mortal sin. Back in the game, it was a handy item used to remove annoying suppression penalties. Who wouldn't want a handy cheat code like that in their back pocket? It acts as a physical shell that manifests a person's pure faith. Interestingly, Randolph's contract with Dramath operates on this exact same kind of belief. Even the entity Dramath is shocked that Randolph knows how to exploit this contract. Suddenly, Andrew gasps as his divine power rushes back into his body. He knows this magic should only work for the original holder of the pardon. Randolph was just taking a wild gamble, completely shocked that it actually worked. Baffled, Andrew demands to know how he obtained a valid indulgence. He quickly realizes that is impossible, as he would have sensed any other grant. Suspecting some form of illegal heresy, Andrew insists they must pray together immediately. Just when you think he's cornered, the cavalry arrives right on cue. Isabella charges in with the cavalry, shouting to check if everyone is safe. Just in time, Randolph thinks, standing up to welcome the rescue squad. He points out that the knights have finally arrived to take them home. They might as well consider this close call a blessing from above. Meanwhile, the main quest rankings update, securing Randolph in the top spot. With the mission wrapped up, the Dryads prepare to return to their forest home. Their leader reminds Randolph that they will always answer his call in times of danger. After all, the heavy city air is like pure poison to forest creatures. Once they depart, the battered city immediately begins the process of rebuilding. Since the treasury is completely empty, Hudson steps up to fund the entire project. They even hire the kingdom's finest alchemist to repair the broken teleportation gate. It is a massive expense, but Hudson's deep pockets make it look easy. No problem here. Andrew recovers his sacred power, but needs serious rest to heal. Since the city has no priests for the wounded, they use potions instead. Potions cost a fortune, but fortunately, they have access to Hudson's massive wealth. Hudson complains about solving everything with money, but Randolph shrugs it off. He reminds him the city is poor, and it is all for Serengeti. Back at the castle, Randolph asks if she slept. Hudson looks stressed. The curse took hold of her again. Randolph tosses him a small vial. He understands her pain. Hudson catches it and stares in absolute disbelief. This is a blessed high-grade elixir. Hudson demands to know how he got it. The goddess order only makes less than 10 of these every single year. Randolph tells him to use a single drop every 2 hours for a month. Her legs will heal completely. Hudson realized his theory was correct all along. He is a player and got this from the Golden Scale shop too. Thanks to him, Hudson completed Mission 4. He checks the new rankings. If his guess is right, this man is the legendary player, Randolph. The one who recruited the most famous characters in Pangaea, including Wilhelm. And that legendary shadow user who vanished a while ago, Spectre. Randolph gets a bit embarrassed being called a legend, but asks for understanding. He apologized for hiding his real identity. Hudson says it is fine. It makes total sense. Revealing that kind of power is just asking for death. Hudson asks what to call him now, but Randolph tells him to keep it casual. No need for formal names. Hudson thanks him for buying the precious elixir. It cost a lot of golden scales, but Randolph has cash to burn. Being first place pays incredibly well, plus the city's defenses hurt their score. That weak combat rating dragged them down. Randolph studies his system panel. The special shop trades items for his remaining lifespan. It is essential now. Survival depends on it. He spots the rare white dragon's fang. The cursed grimoire of Eldridge and a dragon heart are also on sale. These are the core materials he used to craft his unique items. No one else could have collected these, especially the White King's drops. Even a powerhouse like Wilhelm gave up on slaying that massive beast. If dead characters have their equipped gear put up for sale here, then managing his remaining lifespan becomes his absolute highest priority now. He needs to jump straight into the next trial. Let's do this. He tells Hudson to guard Serengeti while he is gone, but there is a catch. Apparently, Marquis Weiser accepted a massive bribe to send her to the duchy. On top of that, Maxim, one of the 8 heroes, is backing them. With power like that involved, they seem completely impossible to stop now. Randolph remembers Maxim, just a coward he hired back during the Grand Expedition. A total piece of trash who abandoned them in the swamp near the entrance. He was planning on crushing those fake 8 great heroes, eventually anyway. Looks like he gets to cross paths with one of them much sooner. He tells Hudson to stall and buy time until he makes his return. He will handle Weiser. They must hold the line until then. Handing Serengeti over to the duchy, the protagonist explains that Hudson may not be a fighter, but he is someone she can truly trust. Her trust in him is deep, meaning she was heavily counting on Hudson. The young man is stunned by this. Silently, he wishes them a safe journey. As morning comes, Randolph is given some remarkably fine clothes. He says thanks. Weiser shrugs it off. Don't worry, Weiser replies, wishing him a safe journey. Randolph adds that for the actual reward, he should talk to Hudson directly, who will handle it completely, and so they make their way to the massive monument standing in the city center. Randolph gazes at the long list of names carved there: James, Noah, Lucas, Jacob, Zion. Brave heroes who fought harder than anyone. Rest in peace. He silently offers his deepest gratitude. 500 knights find peace. Now the rewards begin. Back at the kingdom, a knight asks about the payout, and the Marquis promises generous gold for the families. 10,000 gold per family, a massive fortune. He declares that Hudson will pay. Isabella asks where the saint is headed next, and Randolph says he will follow the stars. But first, there is someone they absolutely must recruit, and honestly, it is a brilliant move. Leaves Isabella quite shocked. The protagonist nods, knowing this ally is essential to boost their fighting power. Just like her, this person is another neglected character from his roster, Isaac, the lightning cutter. A few days later, deep in the Silent Crow Cemetery dungeon, where the only sound is your own breathing, suddenly a flesh monster emerges. The protagonist swiftly takes down the dungeon boss, the corpse crow, securing the ultimate completion rewards: a broken 9-star golden scale and an evolved corpse crow core. Randolph is thrilled it dropped on their first attempt, while Isabella wonders what it actually is. The protagonist explains it is the key material required to enter Cramdal, Isaac's current location. Cramdal, a terrifying city of monsters, ruled by the White King, the guardian deity of the North. Monsters, mythical beasts, and bizarre cosmic entities, it is feared as an unassailable stronghold that neither the demon lords nor the abyssal rulers can dare to enter. No human survives there until his hidden gluttony trait activates, devouring the core. Rules change, the devouring finishes, starting the evolution process begins. The toxic miasma radiating from the core is instantly crushed by giant resistance and a monarch heart. His mastery rises rapidly, successfully completing the evolution. His gluttony trait officially evolves into king of the corpse crows. This lets him summon massive crow armies. On his sacred power, Randolph marvels at his perfect transformation. He easily surpasses any regular shapeshifting spell. He realizes this embedded core acts as the anchor for the disguise, and if it shatters, the transformation will break. Isabella nervously asks what happened to his. New Look and Randolph explains he is mimicking a corpse crow. With this disguise, entering Cramdoll should be quite easy to prove it. He lets out a strange bird call. Isabella asks what that was about. But Randolph just chirps again, maybe a side effect of the spell. She admits she is pretty impressed by his dedication. Randolph just tells her to hush up and put on Michela's gear. It summons the actual wings of a celestial dragon, though her look will still be different from theirs. To anyone watching, she will just look like a typical draconian. Not that it matters, since they are both monsters. Time to move on. They have a pretty long journey ahead. Soon, a boat sets sail across the water. Isabella puts on the armor, which scales perfectly to her level. She mentions she had no idea they could slip into Cramdoll like this. But Randolph reminds her the star sees everything. Looking around, she notices the other passengers on board. None of these beasts should be taken lightly. They look like level 7 or 8 threats. Honestly, it is a miracle. A ship packed with killers is even sailing, but Randolph explains that only evolved beasts can enter Cramdoll. Beasts with that specific rank possess intelligence just like a human. They never start trouble in the city. Suddenly, a massive claw sweeps toward them. Randolph notes that is the rule. And Isabella spins around. A level 9 raid boss, the colossal grudge, rises up. It roars that it is hungry, reaching down for the ship. But before it can crush them, a crimson glow bursts from the vessel. Medusa's eye skill flashes. The colossal beast instantly freezes up midair. Paralyzed and forced to let go, Isabella is stunned. How was it level 9 monster stopped so easily? Randolph says it is the power of Medusa, one of the 4 pillars. Absolutely no one is allowed to fight inside the territory. Anyone who breaks this rule gets wiped out instantly. That is the law. Unlike that brainless beast, the evolved monsters actually obey. Just then, a hooded figure addresses the crowd, apologizing for the tiny unwanted pests in Cramdoll's waters. He says there is nothing to worry about. They should remain calm as they reach Cramdoll shortly, so just forget the incident. He hopes they all have a peaceful day ahead. The boat glides under a massive stone arch. Randolph warns Isabella that their destination is a heavily stronghold. If their real identities are discovered, they die. She absolutely cannot afford to let her guard down, not even for a single passing second. Suddenly, the massive stone archway comes into view as they finally enter Cramdoll. Suddenly, a monster vendor shouts out, offering a deep discount on a relaxing soak at the local hot springs. The beast promises a kind service to help soothe any weary traveler. It is bizarrely welcoming. Isabella admits this is not at all what she expected. Meanwhile, Randolph is utterly confused. When he came here as Wilhelm just 1 year ago, this place was a dead wasteland where nothing could possibly grow. What did they do to this place? Isabella breaks his train of thought, asking what kind of person this Isaac is, the one they traveled so far to find. Turned out to be Isaac the Lightning Cutter, a wanted criminal who committed countless crimes across the continent, at the very least, robbing wealthy nobles and priests from the Order of the Goddess. At worst, he served as a mercenary in war zones, cold-heartedly plundering the supply lines of his own allies, and beyond that, he assassinated leaders across entire cities, froze teleportation gates to unleash massive monster waves, and single-handedly masterminded the total annihilation of the mining city. Randolph basically calls him the most dangerous man in all of Pangaea. Hearing this, Isabella comments that he seems pretty proud of his reputation. Either way, she now knows he is someone who doesn't even act like a human. Randolph thinks that if there was any excuse for his crazy actions back then, it was because he genuinely worried about the rapidly declining number of players, making his crimes a weird form of protest. But that was only because he didn't realize Pangaea was abnormal. He argues that Isaac will be a powerful ally, but Isabella isn't buying it, now that she knows how incredibly dangerous he is if he does anything to threaten Randolph even slightly. She will end him. Talk about protective. Randolph finds it pretty comforting. She then asks what the guy actually looks like. Randolph explains he has a lightning scar on his forehead, golden hair like pure gold, and celestial dragon wings just like hers. Right then, in a nearby alley, they spot someone matching that exact description. Isaac is complaining that his client doesn't get that his hot spring is both the cheapest and best. The girl wonders if this goofy guy is really Pangaea's most dangerous villain. Honestly, would you believe it? Yells that the customer isn't going home without visiting his hot spring first. Suddenly, Isaac looks over at them, asking what they want and why they keep staring so intensely. That's when he notices Isabella's celestial dragon wings. Randolph steps in, saying what a relief. It has been 150 years since he last met a dragon in a dump like this. Isabella quietly agrees that it has indeed been 150 years, Randolph says. This is pretty exciting and they definitely need to catch up. Isaac silently notes that if they ignore the dead bodies, that woman is clearly human, yet her mouth remains covered. Besides, the Eye of Medusa is watching them closely. Randolph warns that they need to be careful, suggesting they move their conversation into a quiet city alley. Isaac demands to know how this guy knows his name. Randolph gently reminds him that the eyes of Medusa are watching, so they shouldn't say anything stupid. He warns him not to act tough because he knows they are both in the exact same boat. Just by having celestial dragon wings, monsters will treat her like one of their own, but she absolutely cannot fool Isaac's eyes. He entered this dungeon using the exact same method she did. However, unlike Isabella, there is a specific reason his gear is hidden while only his wings are fully visible. He drank an equipment invisibility potion to completely conceal his look, but that doesn't matter since Randolph can easily see through all the gear Isaac is currently wearing. He then quietly whispers that no matter how much he tries to hide the Michelle asset, he can't fool him. Now he must choose whether to cooperate or die like a dog right here. Isaac pretends to be a simple half dragon of his level, acting incredibly surprised to see one of his own kind, and feigns a polite introduction. Randolph suggests they find somewhere private for a proper conversation, and Isaac asks where. Suddenly, he spots something strange on the ground. Isaac asks where to look, then he spots a strange mark on the ground. They agree a hot spring sounds perfect. At the inn, Isaac tells the old goblin that he brought some clients. He adds that they need to get 2 rooms since they are from out of town and have nowhere else to stay. The evolved goblin snaps at him to stop bringing customers like this, but Isaac shrugs. Without him, nobody would visit this rundown place anyway. He adds that the entire bill should be put on the cactuses tab. The poor guy tries to protest that he already reserved a bath and that this is just blatant extortion, begging the great hero for help, but Randolph only says that thanks to him they saved some cash, while Isabella adds she is grateful someone is so incredibly eager to help. Soon they are soaking in the hot waters, and with the fairy queen's tears active, Randolph's body feels completely relaxed. Isaac comments that if these special tears were common, monsters would not be so desperate to get them. Randolph does not remember this from before, but Isaac says that even he has no idea, only that they suddenly started sprouting at some point. Randolph silently notes that this sudden appearance could mean something bigger. Isaac then asks why Randolph sought him out, knowing his true identity. They obviously did not meet by chance, and Randolph simply replies that the stars guided him. Isaac scoffingly comments that he talks just like a saint, but a mere corpse crow could never be a saint, and Randolph calls that hypocritical coming from a bandit. Isaac fires back that he was dragged here and had to do absolutely anything to survive. Randolph tells him that whether he believes his story or not is irrelevant because he came with a proposal. Isaac must serve him for 1 year, and in exchange, he can finally escape Cramdal and roam the continent once again. Isaac is visibly taken aback, but claims he has no interest in his offer, warning that they should never cross paths ever again. Not even by pure coincidence. Randolph asks if he plans to keep hiding from his painful past, namely, that entire mining town he completely destroyed with his own bare hands. Randolph keeps a deadly serious expression. Back then, as a rebellion against the game developers, he used Isaac to trigger massive chaos. His bad karma piled up so high that he was banned from entering cities, and eventually ended up stumbling upon a remote village. Its chief was your typical stock fantasy villain. The greedy old man spent his days embezzling the local funds and bribing council members to keep his power. Isaac decided to lay low in this backwater village, playing the role of a personal agent hired by The greedy chief, it was all just a basic act to hide his true strength. Surprisingly, unlike most generic minor antagonists, this petty chief was actually incredibly resourceful, bold, and ruthlessly cruel. He even forced a man to lose a finger, but when an ambitious, useless villain gains a powerful subordinate, pledging absolute loyalty, that pathetic villain can truly become a monster. Now he walks freely through the alleys, muttering how incredibly grateful he is to Isaac, because of mine, a simple village chief has become a powerful town leader, and it will bring him endless riches. Standing beside him, Isaac says that with this lucrative mine, they can aim much higher, though secretly planning to plunder everything and run and escape. The village chief laughs that it won't take long, saying he must complete his village. Meanwhile, the workers suffer in horrific conditions, barely even. Isaac yells stop, asking who these people are, but the village chief just shrugs it off. He explains that they simply gathered everyone from all the neighboring towns. Sure, hiring the royal guard cost them a massive fortune, but it was worth it. This minor expense is absolutely nothing compared to the huge payout they are about to receive. Just then, Isaac spots a young boy carrying a heavy sack, looking completely drained of life. The village chief stops right in front of the kid and slowly crouches down. He asks if the child has caught a cold, and the weak boy nods in response. The boy admits he has been feeling pretty terrible since yesterday. The chief sighs, saying it would be awful if the sickness spread to the others. If only this kid was not carrying such filthy germs, he could have worked him more. Without a second thought, the chief brutally ends his life, calling it a real shame. No big deal, they can breed more kids. Isaac stands there completely frozen. The chief laughs, boasting that they can buy an entire kingdom with this gold. Oh man, his actions have unleashed a nightmare, and he needs to fix this. Randolph continues his story, explaining how he killed the chief to change the city. But it was a pointless effort because the entire place was rotten to the core. Villains kept showing up, there was absolutely no end in sight. So he summoned a massive monster horde to completely wipe out the city. Countless innocent lives were lost, but the city was doomed to fall anyway. He tells Isaac to stop carrying all this heavy guilt on his shoulders. Shut up, stop pretending you know everything, Isaac snaps back. Randolph warns him that staying here out of regret is a huge mistake. Isaac glares at him, demanding to know what he actually wants from this. Randolph reveals his ultimate goal: he is going to slay the Demon King. If Isaac wants real redemption, he needs to join him and help the world. To pull this off, he is recruiting strong, loyal allies who will not betray him. Why? Isaac scoffs, wondering why he would ever trust him. Randolph replies that he knows far more about Isaac than he could ever imagine. Isaac shrugs, completely lost, but asks how a simple king of crows can do this. Randolph chuckles, proposing a wild bet instead of a boring business deal. In this city, power and social status are the only things that matter. He promises to prove, by the law of beasts, that he is no ordinary monster. Isaac asks what he is getting at, and Randolph mentions a legendary location. He is talking about conquering the Tower of Mysteries, located in Cramdal. He plans to seize a powerful mystery from there to secure his high status. In game terms, a mystery is basically a special aura or colorful effect. In this game world, these shining traits are officially called mysteries. A few rare mysteries might offer cool secondary skills or passive buffs. But honestly, most of them do not provide any real combat power. Unless you are a guild leader, they are really just fancy cosmetic skins. However, for high-tier monsters, these auras carry a much deeper meaning. They act like a lion's mane, showing off their power and species rank. The better the mystery, the higher the creatures standing in the monster hierarchy. It can even elevate a simple beast to the level of a raid boss. Just keep in mind, it does not actually boost raw, basic stats. Strong monsters usually hold great mysteries, and the ultimate place to find them. The Tower of Mysteries in Cramdal. To prove their status, countless beasts risk everything. The higher you climb, the greater the reward. Isaac doubts he can do it. He asks Randolph if he actually intends to challenge this massive tower. He warns that a weak crow like him won't survive 30 minutes before being ripped apart. Randolph replies with a calm shrug, it would be a shame if that happens. Isaac tells him to do whatever he wants, but the gates open in 2 days. Randolph has a brief window to prove his worth before the tower opens. Succeed and Isaac will become his loyal ally, or even his slave. 2 days later, hordes of powerful beasts assemble outside the towering gates. Isabella admits there are far more competitors than she expected. Randolph points out that over half of the crowd are just here to spectate. He asks if she is fine skipping the climb. She smiles, she already has won. Want a demonstration? She unleashes her hidden aura, and Randolph freezes in shock. He is completely stunned. Why does Isabella have the scale of Jormungandr? She explains that a giant serpent coiled around her in a dream once. She gained the mark afterward, though it has no active power. Randolph wonders if she unlocked some hidden condition while he was not paying attention. That mark is one of the 32 stars, granting the right to find an undiscovered path. This is massive. The Desert Queen must have recognized this incredible secret. That explains why she kept Isabella close, placing her on the throne. If that is true, the ruthless queen will never let her escape her grasp. This dangerous connection with the Desert Queen is far from over. Brace yourselves. Isabella asks what is wrong. Randolph quickly assures her it is nothing. He knows he must stay focused on the immediate task. Suddenly, a tiny guide shouts that the gates are opening, telling everyone to finish their preparations now. Ready challengers must gather near the path. Randolph takes a deep breath. Isabella promises she will be waiting right here for him to return. Massive beasts step forward, staring down the tiny guide. Randolph scans the area. He spots a deadly pureblood in the crowd, along with an adult leviathan, and even an intimidating Minotaur king. They are all absolute beasts. These are all legendary Calamity-class monsters. Honestly, this lineup is insane. The guide squeaks, noting the presence of so many elite challengers today. He announces that the 5 pillars of Cramdal still have vacant spots. A potential new pillar rising is something everyone wants to witness. Even the White King is eager to watch, and Randolph realizes the incredibly high stakes here. The existing 4 pillars, like the terrifying Medusa, are absolute monsters. Each one requires a top 30 player on the server just to stand a decent chance. 4 of them is already overkill. Why do they want another one? Suddenly, a rough hand shoves Randolph from behind. A massive beast barks loudly at him. It demands to know why a piece of trash is blocking the path. Randolph calmly agrees, which completely catches the rowdy crowd off guard. They quickly burst into roaring laughter, mocking his absolute lack of pride. They mockingly tell him to go buy a cheap toy at a convenience store instead. He really has no shame. To climb this terrifying tower, you need actual power. Only high-level beasts can challenge this place. Maybe he was born slightly stronger than typical corpse crows, but he is still just a crow, and this tower is no place for low-class pests. The beast understands the desire to change his fate, but he can never escape his lowborn status. It screams for him to know his place. Suddenly, the system announces that the tower doors are opening. Entry starts in 5 seconds. Randolph grunts that he talks way too much. With about 4 seconds remaining, the beast is stunned to be called a maggot. Countdown drops to 2 seconds. Randolph says he will remember that ugly face. Instantly, the entrance activates, warping Randolph straight onto a jagged cliff. As expected, the interior consists of separate dimensions. Fortunately, nothing has changed since his last visit. Years ago, he remembers this Tower of Mysteries as his sole failure. Under the legendary name Wilhelm, back then, critical information was scarce since he was the very first challenger. He had no idea that re-entry was impossible, so he stopped halfway. Not this time. He has every strategy memorized as he faces 1,000 level 4 skeleton soldiers. All items are banned here except for equipped gear, and monsters scale to match the challenger. Based on his past experience as Wilhelm, he knows the brutal conditions for conquering the tower. The golden rule: enter at the lowest level possible. Every monster in this place scales to the challenger's level. High-level challengers face high-level monsters. As their level rises, their combat patterns become insanely diverse. But entering low is only half the battle. He needs more. Specifically, a character with overwhelming power that vastly exceeds normal stats for that level, plus meeting strict prerequisites, but obviously without over 200 talents, 13 hidden traits, and reaching Cramdal. It is impossible for anyone else. Reaching Cramdal would be a complete joke. System notifies him that he can summon his corpse crow. Its strength scales with his sacred energy, dealing massive proportional damage. The crows emerge in swarms, and Randolph focuses on the second key element, his class. This class is exactly why he chose the Crow Corps. He possesses skills built for fighting massive groups, even as a weaker boss. This creature is unmatched when facing hordes of multiple enemies. Furthermore, low-tier beast skills like those of the corpse crow level up rapidly. Far faster than high-tier equivalents, they mercilessly slaughter every single skeleton. The system alerts him that his skill level has increased. The message repeats constantly. Thanks to his overwhelming number of unique talents, he cannot level up regardless of how many monsters he slays, but his skill proficiency skyrockets here. To put it simply, only he can do this. Outside, Isaac snaps at the cactus to stop throwing things around, since he has to hand-deliver every single package. Handling them on busy peak days is highly efficient. Suddenly, absolute shockwaves hit the crowd. Someone cleared the first floor in under 3 hours. The tower floor lamp lights up instantly. Isaac stands up, shouting that the first floor is cleared. Isabella wonders what that beacon means. Isaac wonders if it was that dragon youth from earlier. He asks Isabella if she really does not know about the legendary Tower of Mysteries. Whenever a brave challenger manages to successfully clear floor, a light turns on so people can track progress. Everyone seems stunned. Monsters cleared it. After all, the rate is around 30%, but clearing it faster than the White King is an absolutely legendary feat. Isabella believes the saint achieved another miracle. Isaac asks why she is so certain when no one knows the challenger's identity until they finally step outside. Isabella asks if he did not just say this never happened before, then it must be him and no one else. She shares this secret because they might end up working together in the future. He must remember that whenever the impossible suddenly becomes reality, it only happens by the saint's will. On a lower floor of the tower, a giant minotaur sits meditating in his deep chamber. This is one of the 4 great warriors, Gungi. Suddenly, a scout reports that the tower's light is active. Gungi mumbles that it was incredibly fast. He hopes this time a warrior worthy of the 5 legends will appear. Not again. He has no desire to suffer that bitter humiliation again. 2 years ago, their elite group of 4 was utterly crushed by a single human warrior named Wilhelm. That man spared his life, most likely wanting to use them as bait to draw out the White King. That disgrace still burns deep. Gungi orders his scouts to notify him when the second floor ignites. He will handle this challenger personally, even if they do not match the strength of those legendary 5 warriors. But the problem is the 4th floor light is already on. Talk about an absolute shocker. Gungi is even more stunned by this impossible and unmatched speed. Could this intruder really have reached the exact same level as the White King so quickly? Making up his mind, Gungi immediately sends word for all 4 great warriors to quickly assemble at the Tower of Arcana. Right now, inside, Randolph marches on. Crows trail behind him toward a corpse. His summoning skill instantly maxes out, evolving into an advanced class. He has successfully conquered the 4th floor of this mysterious, ancient tower and earns an incredible chance to claim the powerful, transcendent mythic arcana. If he decides to decline, another trial awaits, but Randolph refuses. He pushes straight to the 5th floor. Teleportation begins. Its destination decided by his unique racial stats. Randolph wonders what that actually means. The system begins scanning his attributes: Void level unknown, Druid level 10, Celestial level 20, and Corpse Crow level 5. The total hits 55 points, meeting the tower's final hidden condition. Suddenly, a special hidden quest arrives from the Tower Master, asking if he wishes to challenge the mythic tower. Randolph stares at the notification, highly intrigued by this offer. The system warns him that if he declines this legendary trial, the quest will vanish completely, forcing him onto a standard floor instead. He quickly realizes this is completely uncharted territory, a mythic domain that not even the great Wilhelm has explored. It would surely grant a vastly superior mystery reward, but taking such a massive risk feels completely pointless. But then a sudden realization hits him hard. In this vast world, he is the only person who has ever unlocked this path. What player could honestly reject a challenge made only for them? Now, standing before there is zero reason to hesitate. He accepts. He enters the unknown. No more hesitating. He accepts the challenge and steps right up. He stands face to face with 3 massive skulls as the hidden monster wakes. An awakened skeleton soldier appears, copying the traits of whoever challenges it. It absorbs Randolph's druid and giant traits, and he quickly realizes the danger. They gain every single power he holds. He has absolutely no idea what this thing truly is. Suddenly, the awakened skeleton soldier unleashes the druid's signature arrow of light. This completely catches him off guard. Shocked, he instantly scrambles to dodge. Avoiding the rapid fire blasts, he steps onto a stone, but massive hands suddenly close in. The colossal skeleton is using the deadly giant grasp technique to crush him. Randolph is nearly crushed, but he spreads his wings just in time to escape. Hovering above, he looks down with a grim realization. Copying races means copying skills. This hidden quest has pushed the difficulty level way past anything reasonable. So Randolph draws his sword as the watching stars begin to gather. The supreme constellations of the temple show deep interest, focusing their gaze on him. Staring down the incoming glowing arrows, Randolph cannot help but laugh a little. He never expected every single constellation to tune in to his fight like this. Maybe they are curious about the quest, or maybe they just want to watch him suffer. A massive explosion erupts, completely swallowing the entire battlefield. Randolph flies high into the air. He activates his powerful star piercer technique. Starlight energy floods his entire body, giving him a massive surge for 70 seconds. He wanted to take his time exploring this rare, undocumented monster. But with so many eyes watching him, he needs to wrap this up fast. If he drags this out, those demanding gods up there will definitely start complaining. He gathers his power as every single spectator focuses intently on his next move. Meanwhile, outside, the crowd goes wild. The light on the top floor has suddenly turned on. They desperately want to know who is up there, since almost everyone already gave up. This must be an incredibly powerful warrior, someone terrifying enough to break all limits. An absolute beast who transcends species. They can only imagine a terrifying monster. Randolph's allies watch silently from the back. Isaac cannot help but wonder. There is no way that annoying crow made it to the 5th floor. Not even the White King could. Suddenly, the noisy crowd parts. The 4 great warriors have finally arrived on the scene. The Earth Dragon chuckles, noting it has been ages since they all gathered like this. The Snake Queen coldly corrects him, saying it has only been 2 years and 87 days. Medusa stays completely silent. The Earth Dragon asks the group what they make of this. Gungi admits he has no idea either, but someone is clearly challenging the final floor. That is a feat even the legendary White King could never achieve. He refuses to believe anyone outclasses the White King or Wilhelm. Yet a new powerhouse who rivals both of those monsters might have just arrived. If so, the absolute laws of Cramdal are about to become completely meaningless. They must prepare to welcome this entity, either as a powerful ally or a deadly enemy. Suddenly, immense pressure drops as a voice asks if they were waiting for the new warrior. He claims he will be their new leader, leaving the onlookers completely stunned. The great warriors immediately dismiss this pretender as the Snake Queen begins to gloat. Gungi wonders if a completely unknown monster species is about to emerge from the tower. A heavy footstep echoes outside. The Snake Queen boasts about her missed dragon arcana. But Randolph bluntly calls her a mere worm, turning around to tell her to get lost. He warns them to clear out because he is counting to 3. The countdown ends the moment he makes contact. As he touches her, the missed dragon arcana shatters entirely. That absolute worm gasps and asks what that was. Gungi is left speechless by this display. Randolph says they will definitely remember him. He reveals his power is Eternal Randolph, an arcana that completely defies all normal limitations. It grants insane advantages and can easily shatter lower-level mysteries. Only 1 strike is allowed per target. Right on cue, the main mission calculations begin. The watching constellations shower him with massive enhancements. Our main character finally levels up. Nearby, a massive waterfall cascades where a lone man sits. Perched on the boulder, he mutters that he detects a fascinating, completely unfamiliar scent. Something he has never encountered before. The White King smiles, calling this incredibly interesting. Randolph clears the 5th floor of the tower. The indomitable challenger is praised. His decision is deemed admirable, earning him the title of a challenger who became a myth. While skeletons crawl out from the ground, his global fame surges by 500 points. The tower promises that his challenge will be immortalized forever. Every single constellation is stunned. They doubt this impossible victory, forced to face the supreme mystery with absolute trembling. He gains a scale fragment worth 300 hours, choosing 1 reward from 100 options. Randolph realizes they have been swapped out, and there is no telling which ones are real. Still, the sheer power to shatter an opponent's mystery is completely insane. It even unlocked a hidden trait, a unique arcana devoid of color, scent, and form. Though he cannot physically see it, he can definitely feel its raw presence surging inside him. Clenching his fist, he decides it is finally time to head outside. Meanwhile, the worm screams. He demands to know what happened to his precious arcana, refusing to believe this is happening. His entire high status was stripped away by a mere crow. He begins turning to stone as he tries to speak. He tries to claim his own life, but freezes. Randolph watches him crumble without any reaction. He notes someone here has a brain. Suddenly, the Medusa's eye's ability activates. She warns that disturbances within Cramdal will not be tolerated under any circumstances. Gungi steps up, adding that this is the absolute law decreed by the White King himself. To defy it is to become his mortal enemy. He asks if the protagonist is a friend or foe. Randolph coolly replies that it depends on how they act. Gungi finds this response incredibly bold. He thinks Randolph is incredibly arrogant, yet he recognizes that his immense status cannot be ignored. He states he has no intention of becoming an enemy, wishing instead to report this emergence. He must inform the White King about the arrival of such a high-level peer in their lands. Randolph calmly agrees, saying he will gladly accept the invitation. But he has one non-negotiable condition: his companions must accompany him to the castle. The 4 elite warriors escort them. Isaac grumbles, asking how he got dragged into this mess. Randolph chuckles, asking if he is seriously trying to back out on his promise already. After all, he swore to become his servant if his high status was proven genuine. Randolph says it is only fair he walks this path now. Isabella then speaks up. She asks if they truly need to meet the White King face-to-face. Randolph responds calmly. He has no reason to decline, especially since he wants something from him. Gungi reaches the massive doors, pushing them open to announce they have finally arrived. They step directly into the White King's grand chambers. Randolph boldly walks forward. The 4 elite warriors immediately salute their ruler, who remains perched atop his stone throne. He asks if this is the famous crow who cleared the tower, noting he looks fragile yet intriguing. Randolph stares back, questioning if he is indeed the legendary White King. He is incredibly rude for a first meeting. Isaac thinks this is madness, and Gungi is completely stunned. The White King repeats the word manners, questioning if he actually needs to care about such trivial rules. Randolph is certain that this monster standing before them is undoubtedly a final boss. Without those protective hidden traits, the crushing pressure alone would have stopped his heart by now. In Pangaea, monsters can level up just like players, gaining experience by taking lives. But the terrifying catch is that these monsters face absolutely no limits. Leveling up is incredibly tough, since they must constantly put their very lives on the line. If they can survive, they grow forever. Think level 11 power. It matches a 1-star transcendent player, while a level 12 creature is even stronger. That level 12 is as strong as a 2-star, and this White King radiates unbelievable pressure. His massive aura sweeps across the room, rushing directly toward Randolph. It even makes the vast ocean itself shake. Instantly, his anti-demon energy flares up alongside the protective heart of the Iron Monarch. This keeps Randolph safe. The Tiger King is level 15, and with Wilhelm gone, things look grim. Since the Demon King is also gone, this beast is the absolute ruler of this world. Randolph has to be careful. A single breath from this beast could rip him to pieces. Still, he swallows hard and speaks up, telling the king it is basic etiquette to respect guests. Isaac is stunned to see Randolph standing his ground. Talk about a legendary move. The bull thinks he knew Randolph was special, but this level of bravery is simply unreal. He never imagined anyone could stand firm under such crushing pressure. Perhaps he is as strong as the White King. Suddenly, the giant tiger smiles. Then he bursts into booming laughter, calling Randolph a very strange fellow. Now he understands why the 4 great warriors brought this human to him. Randolph is relieved that his gamble worked, knowing the king only cares about interesting things. He is incredibly possessive of his things and driven entirely by his beastly instincts. In the past, the great tiger warned that at this rate, nothing would remain. He called it a shame, but insisted they had to stop their battle right there. It would be a massive problem if his beloved home got completely destroyed. Wilhelm replied that this was not his home, making the White King laugh at his bad manners. The giant laughed. He threw Randolph one of his own teeth as an unexpected reward. Sparing his warriors earned him this reward, as he gives freely to those he likes. In other words, you have to grab this beast's attention just to speak with him. The Tiger King looks down, demanding to know the protagonist's name. Randolph knows that being called strange by this ruler is a massive compliment. Since he has successfully piqued his interest, he boldly introduces himself as Randolph. The Tiger King silently notes that while he cannot see his true form, he senses mystery. Perhaps looking into the eyes of Medusa gave him the power to crush mysteries entirely. The legendary Tower of Mysteries must have granted him this absolute authority. Even the king's own inner power trembles, which indicates a superior species rank. Obtaining such an unknown power means Randolph possesses an incredibly high rank. While high rank does not guarantee raw power, completing a mythical trial is no small feat. He is clearly no ordinary being, and the king struggles to suppress his urge to fight. Sensing the king is losing control, Randolph acts fast. Will his gamble pay off? He warns him that a clash between them would wipe Cramdal completely off the map. The Tiger King agrees with him, admitting that he simply cannot make a rash decision. He would destroy his own land, then asks if Randolph cleared the Tower of Mysteries. Randolph dismisses it, nothing special. That is when the Tiger King speaks up. What was the hidden floor trial? Randolph asks if the information is free. He is hunting for something specific. He needs the White King's cooperation. He wants full cooperation in Cramdal. The White King calls it trivial. Go ahead and search. No monster would dare touch a legendary warrior. No monster indeed, but Randolph has zero interest in serving this king. He refuses to get involved more than is absolutely necessary for now. The Tiger King laughs, misunderstanding. A great warrior is no mere subordinate. They are equals, fully equal. They simply show respect to the ruler. Randolph notes their lower power, but they are all level 12. Since they share the same classless title, they try to avoid trouble. That is the king's perspective, but these warriors act like loyal soldiers. They likely created this grand title just to reinforce their military forces. Randolph cannot refuse. The Tiger King formally welcomes this strange new crow. He hails him as a powerful new pillar to support Cramdal. Elsewhere, Randolph's group secretly meets with the Snake Queen. Why summon her in private? She demands to know his real reasons. As ruler of Necro Valley and Queen of the Lifeless, she holds his target. He asks for cooperation, but she claims she has no time for trifles. She tells him to go bother another warrior, but Randolph stands firm. He reminds her of the cooperation promised in the White King's name. She asks what could be so important that he is targeting her specifically. Randolph looks her in the eye. He has been searching for her. Her very existence. He claims to have taken a liking to her. Talk about a wild plot twist. Shocking both Isabella and Isaac, he asks to visit her private sanctuary. The Snake Queen calls him out, asking if he came to claim her. She knows he lacks ambition, but warns him not to get ideas. Randolph ignores her warnings. He heard she has a deep understanding of art. He claims he is searching for a true master of the craft. Rumor says her sanctuary is filled with masterpiece creations, and he is eager. Specifically, he wants a close look at the cadaver art hidden within. Back in the Garden of Knights, Andrew offered him an indulgence. Randolph confirmed the request, prompting Andrew to ask how he would use it. The priest wanted to help, but church rules forbid handing it out easily. A quest reward. Randolph knew it would not be free, so he made an irresistible offer. He promised to bring his daughter back, remembering his old days as Wilhelm. Andrew had begged Wilhelm to purify his daughter, Andesar, who became an eldritch. Though the purification succeeded, she could not survive in her human form. She died moments later, and her lifeless body was stolen from Andrew. Arriving in Cramdal as Wilhelm, he discovers the culprit. The Snake Queen took her remains. Randolph will get them back. He will retrieve her body, but he absolutely needs that church indulgence first. He secured one indulgence, but needs another to save Andesar. One to recover her and the other as his own prize. Back in the present, he says. He wants to inspect her collection, causing the normally terrifying Serpent Queen to shiver. She gladly welcomes him inside her home, admitting she had absolutely no idea he cared about fine art. Inside her massive castle built right on the outskirts of Cramdal, she tells them to make themselves comfortable. No need for pleasantries, since any monster who appreciates beauty is always welcome. Isaac grumbles quietly under his breath, pointing out they were just in the White King's sanctuary. Now they are in her castle. His worst nightmare is coming alive today. Isabella just rolls her eyes and tells him he needs to get used to it. Isaac complains that she is acting way too calm while standing in a monster's den. But she smugly reminds him that she has served their master for far longer than him. As second in command, she sits above Hudson while Isaac is dead last. He silently recalls rumors that this woman was a bloodthirsty psycho who turned entire cities into graves. Yet standing here right now, she does not seem very hostile at all. Then she dramatically gestures for them to look upon her collection. Trust me, it is horrifying. A literal tower of severed human arms stands next to a framed face mask. She asks for their thoughts, claiming she hates to boast but is deeply proud of these. She leans in close, begging Randolph to share his honest opinion about her creations. Suffocating, murderous pressure instantly floods the entire room, and Isaac can barely contain his disgust. He calls it a sick hobby, and she suddenly appears right before him. She asks if he is mocking her creations, sending a cold shiver straight down his spine. Terrified, he stammers that he did not mean it and pleads that fighting is banned here. She scoffs, reminding him that her status matches the legendary White King himself. Killing a pathetic, low-ranking warrior like him will not cause her even a single second of trouble. If he truly believed local laws would save his life, he is sadly mistaken. But Randolph quickly steps in, saying a true master's art is always highly complex. He claims that her breathtaking, complex work resonates deeply with the very core of his soul. It is only natural that an ignorant idiot like Isaac fails to understand it. He tells her to ignore the brainless fool and show them even more of her wonderful work. Blushing, she turns back and asks if he truly appreciates her wonderful talents. Isaac cowers in sheer terror as she prepares to reveal her next piece. She proudly presents leather crafted from the skin of foolish humans who dared to invade her city. She boasts about keeping the bloodstains fresh before leading them to the main event. Intrigued by the hidden object, Randolph asks what it is, and she admits it remains unfinished. But she invites him to look anyway, dramatically pulling back the heavy curtain. Revealed inside is the massive corpse of an eldritch, which she claims to have obtained by luck. She wants to build a legendary Dullahan, but Randolph immediately recognizes the body. It is definitely Andesar, but the queen just sighs, calling the body a highly stubborn material. The energy refuses to stabilize, making it impossible to mold into a proper work. A lingering state of pure madness persists, resisting every attempt at her purification. Whenever she attempts to work on it, the chaotic energy instantly spirals completely out of control. She laments that a masterpiece she cannot even use is practically worthless to her. Seeing his perfect opportunity, Randolph calmly asks if she would mind handing the corpse over to him. She chuckles, stating that if he can manage a body she could not control, he can have it. She will give it gladly. Smiling, our protagonist slowly reaches his hand out. He realizes the reason the Serpent Queen failed to stabilize the body is simple. Andesar is no ordinary corpse, but a strange anomaly caught between human and beast. The terrible sins she committed as an eldritch must have piled up as heavy suppression when she became human again. Now, when a humanoid character builds up suppression like this, they go completely wild. That means the madness gripping her will only stop if that heavy burden is cleared, so he offers to absolve the sins of Andesar, washing them away with an indulgence. Her suppression bar instantly drains to zero, curing her frenzy. The Serpent Queen always knew this man was special, but purifying a substance even she could not touch is completely unreal. She wonders if he possesses both the ultimate vision and the actual power to create. See, the Queen of the Lifeless is incredibly lonely, because her dark art is far too complex for anyone to truly understand. Sure, brilliant critics show up occasionally, but they can never cure her deep heavy isolation. They cannot feel her creative agony, nor her absolute joy in making. The terrifying reality that no one would ever share her world haunted her. This mysterious crow standing before her is unique, making her wonder why he only appeared. At this very moment, Randolph claims a piece of Andra's body, looking back at the Serpent Queen with total confusion. Meanwhile, a full month has passed since deadly monsters invaded Earth and dimensional warriors rose up to fight back. Get this, a massive online community erupted with over 1 billion views. Top dimensional warriors spend hours replying to threads, sharing extensive guides on how to survive oncoming threats and handle sudden beast attacks. Thanks to this, the site became so reliable that major world governments started recommending it to everyone. In a world gripped by sudden terror, these community posts became their soul. Source of hope and absolute guide to survival, naturally the master of this forum is worshipped like a literal god, known only as the master. He was active before the first invasion, recruiting elite players to build the world's strongest faction. Armed with immense influence, he bargains directly with top global leaders and massive corporations. He is a brilliant strategist, constantly growing his network, sitting on the Council of Eight Heroes, the god of war master. Commands respect. Right now, Black Star, the Lightning Emperor, asks if Gracia has made her way back yet. The nine-tailed fox reminds them they did not cross the ocean for nothing. Banhee tells them to ignore her since it is not the first time she has vanished without a trace. Lucifer refocuses them on what matters most. Randolph, whom they suspect is Wilhelm, who completely broke the leaderboards again. Maxim demands to know if they will just let him run wild. Like this, the master calmly replies they will deal with him eventually, but first they must brace themselves for the absolute nightmare that is about to land. If those previous waves were merely scouting parties, then the actual opening of the rift will signal the end. Once that happens, the general public will quickly realize neither military forces nor local police can shield them. The sole hope for humanity lies entirely with the players. Soon, citizens will stop looking to corporations or weak governments, choosing players instead. The world is shifting. The dimensional collapse sits at 9.1%, and 10% means total disaster. Back inside the silent castle, the Serpent Queen demands to know. Randolph realizes that unlike humans, monsters never actually descend into a frenzy. It makes sense. Monsters commit atrocities to boost reputation. No frenzy is needed. Asking about techniques is strictly taboo among martial artists, yet he still agrees to consider it anyway. The Serpent Queen urges him to think the matter over carefully. Randolph claims his reward, that promised work of art, but first one question. He wants to know exactly where the head is, since his job requires a complete corpse. A true artist would never carelessly throw away such a vital, precious material. The queen wanted the whole piece, but simply had no other choice. By the time she discovered the body, the head was already long gone. She tracked its energy to Cramdell's basement, but had to give up. Entering was completely impossible. Randolph wonders, was it truly impossible for her? Especially as one of Cramdell's strongest pillars. She replies that nobody on the continent can defeat them, except for the legendary Star Guardians. But bound by a non-aggression pact, they had to retreat. Randolph asks what they were doing there, and she admits she does not know the details. Still, Cramdell's unique hot springs seem to share a connection with the stars. However, a unique grade mystery covers the entire area like a heavy veil. And even they cannot get close to the star, so they just waited. As time passed, Cramdell's gateway fell under the control of those Star Guardians, making the White King absolutely furious. Yet, the king is acting very cautiously, meaning the pact must be serious. She advises Randolph to just forget the head. But Randolph disagrees. Easy problem. He can solve this without any real issue. He can fix everything by simply eliminating every single one of those intruders. Recalling how he easily destroyed the giant worm mystery, he makes his decision. He tells her to inform the White King that he will clear them out. Watch closely. Deep in Cramdell's basement, the Star Guardian Dramoth and the Phoenix stand waiting. A mysterious voice echoes, asking if it is true and if he can destroy that veil. Arcana, the voice, wonders how a mere corpse crow could pull it off, and if Dramoth can stand by his words. If he lies, the consequences will be severe. A few hours earlier at Cramdell's Central Hot Springs, Dramoth found the situation utterly unbelievable. To him, the ability to transform into a monster is downright incredible, and he demands to know if Randolph is even human or how he located them. Randolph calmly replies that he heard rumors of guardians nearby and confirmed it. With the administration changing the subject, he asks if they gathered for the 33rd star despite only 32 existing. Dramoth confirms that is indeed the case. Those 32 stars were originally formed from the fragments of Lee's broken body. However, they suspect this new one belongs to Pina, the goddess of the sky. With the sudden appearance of this 33rd star, they must take turns protecting it. Randolph silently notes that she was known as the youngest of the goddesses. The modern continent is actually the piece of land she raised high into the heavens. While the original ground was completely consumed by the endless abyss below. The prevailing theory is that the demon realm exists down there. Randolph asks if she lost her life, and Dramuth explains they gathered specifically to confirm that fact. But they face massive challenges, since a unique great arcana blocks their path like a thick veil. Randolph smiles, stating that is exactly why he came to resolve this. Dramuth explains that an arcana represents absolute truth itself, and that it is impossible for anyone to ever destroy such a thing. He laughs, but then notices the protagonist's dead serious expression, questioning if he is actually being serious. Back in the present, he admits it is pretty hard to believe. But Randolph is not the type of person to bluff without a good reason. He asks why Randolph would even help, and Randolph says he has something he needs to find, so everyone wins in the end. The Guardian relents, but demands to know why the others showed up too, especially after he warned them not to approach the star where the White King sits in front. He tells the Guardian to relax, promising they will not get any closer, and only came to watch because his guests failed, and the newest pillar will handle it. The Guardian calls him a miserable hyena, glaring at him with pure contempt. He unleashes a wave of energy. Randolph notes this has turned into a mess, and it is a pain because he just wants to get this over with and send everyone away, so he reaches out to the arcana. It truly is a mystery if what blocks the path is indeed an arcana. Its grade does not matter, it will not be a problem. However, the system warns that destroying the first wall will trigger the main quest, which makes Randolph pretty suspicious, but there is no turning back now. The barrier begins to crack, fracturing more and more. The Tiger King looks on, surprised, finding this highly interesting, while the Guardian turns around with the same thought. Everything shatters into mere shards before the flying protagonist he has destroyed the first wall. Randolph notes the problem of the blocking arcana is solved, and so this is the 33rd star everyone was talking about. Now that he has found it, he wants to see what this quest entails, but something even more shocking happens. An armored knight appears on a dark horse, riding forward without a single trace of hesitation. The system warns that Pangaea's collapse has reached 10, and the knight awakens its massive energy. The mission is to eliminate the boss of this dimensional rift, standing before the Guardians and our protagonist. The battle begins. Isabella then calls out. The Serpent Queen asks if he is all right. Randolph realizes something shocking. He was absolutely certain he had ended this man's life in the demon realm, but he somehow managed to sneak his way here. Ephraim, first king of hell, stands as the Guardian. Ephraim notes that the star arcana suppressing them has vanished. They must prepare to cross over to the other dimension, because the dimensional rift opens once he claims Pangaea's heart. The end has finally arrived. The system warns that if King Ephraim is not eliminated within 30 days, every rift will open and bring complete ruin. Back on Earth, people stare up at the sky, wondering what is happening. And what comes next? A secretary frantically reports that the collapse rate has finally reached 10%, and the first rift is about to open. He begs for orders, but the master calmly replies, there is no reason to rush. It is impossible for a demon king to appear in the very first rift, meaning their preparations are more than enough, but not until this city drowns in tears of blood and begs for players to save them. Will they act? They spring into action. The players think the world is theirs, but the system suddenly alerts them. It warns them the mission is already running, with the progress bar climbing. The master is baffled. The rift hasn't even opened yet, but a raid is already happening. He demands to know what on earth is going on right now. Meanwhile, back in Pangaea, the counter hits 17% as RM gets blasted, smacked down by a stellar guardian once again. RM screams that this is impossible, wondering how he got defeated so easily. Reduced to absolute helplessness, his short-lived reign of terror is over before it truly began. In the land of Pangaea, 3 legendary beings rule the peak: the Demon King, the White King, and Wilhelm. People even joke that only these 3 could kill each other. But that rule only applies to the ordinary native races of Pangaea. It ignores the system's own creations. Among the units built to protect the stars lies another massive monster capable of going head-to-head with them. Meet the strongest stellar guardian, the legendary giant of evil extermination. He bellows at RM for daring to touch the goddess's sacred symbol. Randolph takes a seat. Who knew that mysterious barrier was holding RM back? Having these massive guardians on their side makes this whole fight a complete breeze, especially with that absolute unit leading the charge to protect Wilhelm's final star. Now that this titan is backing them up, they have the ultimate shield on their side. The white tiger strolls over, sighing that it is a real shame things ended so fast. The giant wrapped everything up way too quickly. They did not even get a show. Randolph senses he is being tested here, reminding the tiger he only agreed to help destroy the barrier. The Tiger King realizes this guy is sharp and did not fall for his little bluff. It is a bit disappointing, but before they can chat further, a loud scream echoes nearby. Aram crashes to his knees, howling in agony and cursing his very existence. Just like that, the main quest to defeat the Dimensional King is completely finished. The players look around in confusion, wondering why the monsters are suddenly gone. Back in his room, the master is absolutely seething. They were only one step away. He spent a fortune recruiting elite warriors for this raid, and it ended instantly. His army did not even get to swing their swords before the boss was wiped. He vows to destroy Randolph, the sole player who took all the credit. Meanwhile, they all gather back in Pangaea. He wonders if that strange crow actually managed to stop the massive blast. The Tiger King is stunned, to suppress an explosion that even he could not handle. This is not just idle curiosity anymore. He absolutely needs this guy in his faction. Isaac and Isabella run over to the saint, while Randolph checks his screen. The quest experience was massive, pushing his level up to the next tier. His main reward is a sealed Holy Grail that requires a high priest to open. Suddenly, Aram screams in rage, shouting curses and demanding to know what he did. He demands Randolph reverse the seal right now, threatening to rip his head off. Sealing Aram was only possible because the giant weakened him first. Even so, the sheer power of this holy relic is absolutely mind-blowing. This sacred item from the great sage will make the next step much simpler. Now he just needs to locate Andasar's head. He turns to the sealed demon. He casually asks if he knows where the Dullahan Andasar's head is hidden. Aram spits in defiance, laughing that he will never reveal its location. With the golden tiara tightening its painful grip, Aram finally surrenders Andasar's head. Our main character admits he had it all along, while Aram grumbles about keeping it. He only kept it hoping to raise a powerful undead. Meanwhile, Randolph understands that Aram is the king of the lifeless, holding absolute authority over them, so it must have gotten mixed in while he gathered corpses for his army. He then tells Isaac to take good care of it. The giant calls out to the corpse crow, saying that from the barrier until now, he owes him a massive debt of gratitude. Randolph silently notes that he never expected to hear this giant give thanks. Of course, if the giant knew he was actually Wilhelm, he would take his life for being the fool who failed to protect his star, keeping his identity hidden. Is definitely the safer choice. He tells the giant to forget about any debts, claiming he wants something else. If he is truly grateful, just give him the star. But the giant replies that, unlike the idiot who lost his star, this crow is actually incredibly useful. He promises to repay the debt, but the star's fate will be decided only after they retrieve it. Randolph realizes it is a shame because he wants it, but he cannot afford to make an enemy out of them. Just then, the guardian moves his hand, and the star begins to glow. It illuminates the entire area, and wait, it's actually floating straight toward him. Stopping right in front of Randolph, it suddenly enters his body on its own. Vivid memories of his past life as Wilhelm surface, showing the Demon King gloating. That a 5-star transcendent cornering him without a divine blessing was a mistake. Without the goddess's authority, Wilhelm could shatter his body but not his essence. Because of that massive slip-up, the Demon King will take him as a vessel. He then wraps him in that suffocating energy, just as we saw before. Serengeti's mind, but after that, Wilhelm sank straight into absolute darkness. Hands of the lifeless reach out, clutching at him as his consciousness fades. As he falls, a soft, distant voice speaks in disbelief. She never imagined he could grow so powerful without a goddess's divine blessing. If his body is completely taken over, every connected dimension will crumble from the sheer destruction, so she begs the being beyond the rift, connected to the Night King, trading her very own life for a fleeting moment. She prays desperately for him to return to this world just one more time. He is consumed by the goddess, repeating the outcome from before. Some return for their own selfish desires, others because of their bonds, and some for their specific goals. They all return for different reasons, yet she still hopes that he at least remains someone who loves Penguinia. Meanwhile, the Demon King wishes for Pina to lose her life. Back in the present, Isabella asks if He is awake. Randolph realizes that this was the goddess's memory, the guardian. Notes that he was chosen. That was Pina's star, meaning she selected him. The twin goddesses are one, making them family now, but the Tiger King calls that absolute nonsense. He warns him not to try any tricks with the 5 great warriors, but the giant argues that since the star chose him, he is now a guardian. A mere wretch cannot undo a goddess's authority. The tiger scoffs that it does not matter. He has already decided what he wants. Isaac asks if they should proceed. They make a quick exit, and Isabella notes that things just got incredibly complicated. Suddenly, a voice calls out to Randolph. The Serpent Queen demands he join her. Dramit shouts to his master, telling him to come over immediately. It is far too dangerous there. Meanwhile, the Guardian and the White Tiger clash. Randolph snaps that they are just talking absolute garbage. He demands to know why they are deciding his future. The White King insists. Randolph already agreed to become a warrior, while the giant claims his destiny is to protect as a guardian. Randolph counters that if they want him so badly, they must prove who offers the better deal. Back at the Tiger King's castle, the Beast King scoffs, unable to believe they are bargaining over a warrior seat. Randolph shrugs. If the king hates the terms, he should just walk away. The flustered Tiger King tells him to get back here, backpedaling on his words. He then asks if Randolph actually prefers the Star Guardians proposal. Randolph admits it was pretty reasonable, especially since they promised to grant him a title. An official title is actually great, making it much easier to earn star ranks. The Tiger King laughs, calling that title a pathetic reward fit for absolute cheapskates. He promises a far better reward if Randolph joins him. Instead, a whole city of his own, of course the Arthon Empire. And territories protected by the Black King are off limits. Randolph realizes this means the king will conquer any other city for him by force if necessary. Even after losing to the White King, the formidable Black King still rules the south. Past his territory lies Arthon, the only empire on the continent. Aside from those two, no one can withstand an invasion from these beasts. Choosing them now means gaining total access to their military might in any territory. It is an amazing offer, proving how much they value his skills. On the flip side, it means he is viewed as a major threat. The king will never let him go to anyone else. Randolph grins, knowing negotiations are done. He must act fast. Any further hesitation might cost him their trust, so he accepts the deal. Once the contract is signed, things begin to move with blinding speed. The king officially declares him a warrior, inducting him into Cramdal. It will probably get pretty awkward with the Star Guardians, but who cares? He will worry about that later. Finally, Andasar's body, his true objective, is delivered by the Serpent Queen, so they prepare to return it to Andrew. Randolph tells them this grand farewell ceremony is way too much trouble. But the White King shrugs it off, wishing Randolph a quick trip so they can meet again soon. Randolph turns to leave, but the system suddenly triggers. Having received the king's official recognition, it activates a teleport spell using the authority of the 5 great warriors. He declares his departure as the system rewards him with massive bonus honor. In a flash, he teleports to the desolate Garden of Knights, right in the middle of nowhere. Isaac remarks that Randolph really is human after all. Randolph shoots back that nothing has changed, reminding Isaac of his 1-year oath. Isabella interrupts, asking where on earth he is keeping RM. Randolph silently plucks a strand of hair, explaining that he stored him there. He shut him up because he was making too much noise, deciding to carry him along anyway. He would still be useful for now, but mid-conversation, it looks like they have finally arrived. They are back in the Garden of Knights, walking through the familiar city streets once more. Isabella mentions the heavy atmosphere, even though she knows Hudson worked hard to rebuild this place. Hudson worked to restore the city, but Isaac suddenly spots something truly horrific. Executed civilians are hanging right in the public squares, innocent people from the city. Randolph stands frozen in shock. He instantly recognizes the knight he fought beside. That brave knight met the same terrible fate, even Miss May, the woman he had saved. She was executed too. Everyone who stood by him after the city was saved is gone. Dead, all of them. Only Andrew is left kneeling on the ground, praying. Randolph is horrified. Andrew suddenly turns around and cries out to his brother. He asks if he has finally returned, begging him to run away and hide. Randolph calls out to him, demanding to know what happened to their town. Andrew explains that the Kaiser mercenaries, led by Maxim, attacked them. Apparently their lord had run up massive debts, especially with Duke Sion. Maxim arrived as the Duke's ruthless messenger to claim what was owed. He threatened to seize the territory, but Hudson offered to settle the debt instead. Maxim just stared back with pure contempt. After all, he was a famous hero. He was one of the legendary 8 heroes. Visor asks why he is acting like this. They offered to pay, but Maxim scoffs and asks what he is even talking about. The Duke lent the money to the Lord, not a merchant, so the debt remains. Hudson calls this logic completely absurd, but Visor immediately sees through the lie. He realizes Maxim wanted the territory from the start, grabbing his sword in anger. He draws his blade, telling the arrogant bastard to get the hell out of their land. Every knight draws their weapon as he yells that this monument is sacred ground. It honors the heroes who died protecting their families, not something trash can touch. Maxim just chuckles, mockingly asking if there are really that many heroes around. As far as he is concerned, there are no real heroes outside of the main 8. With a cold sneer, he unleashes a terrifying wave of pressure. Back in the present, Andrew whispers that the battle was over in a flash. Even though the knights and villagers fought desperately, they stood no chance. They were completely overwhelmed. The only reason anyone survived was because of Hudson. The merchant dropped to his knees before Maxim, begging him to stop the violence. He promised to pay whatever they wanted if they would just spare the town. Maxim scoffed, reminding him that the Duke does not care about mere gold. Hudson kept his cool, offering to double the entire debt within 30 days. Maxim found the massive offer tempting, but he still called him a fool. Why make a deal when he could easily take everything by force? He sneered, questioning why he would ever accept such a stupid bargain. He doubted a mere merchant could ever survive the pressure of his demands. He demanded the cash immediately, but Hudson firmly told him he was wrong. As a merchant, he would rather die than hand over his hard-earned money for free. He just needed 30 days for their lord to return and settle things. Until then, no one could touch a single citizen, not even Sarah Gentry. That was his final condition for the deal, Andrew quietly explains. He must tell him if they really are heroes who dedicated their lives to this. Fought for humanity, but Randolph is consumed by rage. His internal star glows even brighter, making his heart pound with absolute fury, the heart of the Iron Monarch. Keeps this intense wrath burning, fuel fit for the wrath of a true king. This is where his bloody crusade starts, right outside the gates of a massive castle. A mercenary sighs that he is bored, and his partner complains that they have been stuck here for a month because of their captain. Orders are orders, but maybe there is a nice bonus coming. Suddenly, he spots a lone figure. Randolph walks up, completely silent. The guards tense up. Guards yell at him to halt, demanding to know his true identity. Since he clearly is not a local, and no sane citizen would dare approach them, instead of answering, Randolph coldly demands to know where Maxim is. The mercenary asks if the captain is his friend, sneering at his attitude. He warns him he must have an absolute death wish, but a blinding flash cuts him off. No mercy, the man clutches his neck. Randolph keeps moving forward. His partner screams in terror, asking if he knows who they are. Randolph ignores the threat, asking one final time where Maxim is. Suddenly, reinforcements arrive. As the alarm echoes, they scream for everyone to gather up, because an intruder has broken into the ground floor and must be killed. No more talk. Randolph draws his sword and cuts down every man in his way. He easily dodges a massive swing and slashes a bald mercenary. He lands a heavy punch to another face. The enemies keep rushing him. They fall helplessly. The main character keeps moving forward, leaving a trail of bodies behind. His face is a stone-cold mask of silent fury. He ascends to the second floor, eyeing the empty hallway. Several bandits try to ambush him from the shadows as he crosses the room. One swings an axe, but Randolph slices him down in a split second. Just one left. Terrified, the last guard is swiftly cut down. A nearby mercenary stands frozen in absolute shock. He begs for his life, screaming out for his captain, but Randolph silences him instantly. That is when Maxim lunges from behind. Randolph dodges the sneak attack effortlessly, then spins around, grabs his collar, and slams him into the hard stone floor. He aims, driving his blade straight into his mouth. Talk about brutal. Blood splatters everywhere, yet Maxim survives, fueled by his dark demonic power. Unholy energy surges through him, throwing Randolph backward with immense force. Randolph hits the ground hard, kicking up a cloud of heavy dust. Maxim sneers, noting that Hudson was clearly trying to buy some time. He realizes now that the main character was the backup plan all along. Covered in fresh blood, Randolph demands to know his ultimate motive. If he only wanted gold, he could have quietly stolen it and slipped away. With territory, he could have just ruled it without slaughtering innocents. Maxim laughs mockingly, claiming he needs no grand reason to kill. The weak exist to be crushed, but if he wants an explanation, he will share it. Those weaklings dared to stand next to the 8 heroes and build massive monuments to honor themselves. Randolph stares. You can't just go around calling anyone a hero, especially some coward who fled the gates. To Maxim, that shameful secret should have stayed buried forever between them. He asks if he's facing a ghost. Having suspected Randolph's rookie was actually him, he triggers his level appraisal. The result shows a pathetic level 6. Maxim figured Randolph would stay hidden. He thought his target would bide his time growing stronger, not hunt him down. Drunk on your past glory, you've grown quite arrogant, he sneers, grabbing Randolph. He violently hurls him straight through a brick wall for becoming so weak. Now watch, he lunges with his dagger, growling about the true price of arrogance. That price is your life, but Randolph easily dodges, asking if he's done talking. Suddenly, a suffocating pressure locks onto Maxim. Randolph warns him he made a mistake. He should have pocketed the cash and run, or at least left his people alone. Because of that stupidity, his entire mercenary group dies today. Maxim counters that he locked Marquis Weiser and the others deep inside the dungeon. They might just drop dead before Randolph can even finish this fight. But Randolph remains calm. Right on cue, Weiser is already looking out a window. He sent reliable allies to secure them, and now he activates Star Pierce. The raw power will flood his body for exactly 70 seconds. He cold-bloodedly warns the fleeing mercenary that there is absolutely no escape this time. Long ago, Maxim was nothing special, just a perfectly average guy living a quiet life. He was simply born, worked his hours, and kept living a completely mundane existence. Even if his life suddenly ended, he was too insignificant for anyone to notice. That harsh reality stayed exactly the same inside this brutal game world. But everything shifted on the fateful day he finally became an active player. Maxim is left completely bewildered, wondering how a normal human could ever survive battles. It should be impossible to clear major quests while permanently stuck inside this world. But then a literal demon appeared, a rare species found only in ancient lore. This granted him a completely unobtainable class, a massive stroke of legendary luck. Once he grabbed that single opportunity, his boring life transformed into pure wealth. Everything was going perfectly. Then the legendary Wilhelm approached him, asking if he led the Kaiser mercenaries. He offered a staggering payment of 1,200 gold coins to seal the deal. Maxim noted that amount could hire 20 elite warriors, but Wilhelm refused them. The fortune was solely for him, because bringing mediocre trash would only waste supplies. Wilhelm took his silence as an agreement, leaving Maxim feeling deeply validated. He was finally recognized, needed by the single strongest player in the game. Yet he kept wondering if defeating the Demon King would let him remain a player. Or would he return to being a nobody? Back in the present, dark energy rises. Dark power floods his veins. Maxim asks if a weakling can truly escape him. With a wild roar, he charges at our hero, launching a relentless assault. The immense shockwave of his heavy fists instantly shatters the surrounding glass. Randolph retreats with lightning-fast steps, his ears bleeding from the raw impact. Maxim barks at him to know his place as massive spears of dark energy form. The spears fly at blinding speed. To defend himself, Randolph summons the Supreme Iron Sword, effortlessly slicing through the oncoming barrage as he prepares his counter. He equips the boots of Hermes and Mykla's armor, activating the set bonus. His appearance scales to his level. Finally, he unleashes his massive speed-boosting acceleration. His blade tears right through Maxim. He carves deep into the monster's legs first. The beast struggles to retaliate, swinging to counter, but the hero is already on him. Maxim laughs it off. He yells that weak attacks like that won't work on him. But Randolph's stunned. Suddenly, demonic tentacles wrap around him. Thick, dark tendrils of energy burst outward, tearing right through the castle walls. Outside, Isaac watches in absolute horror. Isabella screams, desperately calling for the saint. Stake-like tentacles fill the sky. Maxim gasps for air. He screams in frustration. Randolph parried every single one of his strikes. But Randolph just sighs. Mindless attacks relying purely on brute force are useless. No feints for openings, no precision for blind spots. You will never hit me. Shut up, Maxim roars, charging forward in a blind rage. You were just running away. Randolph dodges easily. Honestly, he says, I just wasn't sure if I could end this. I didn't think your level was this pathetic. With that, he grabs Maxim's head. Have you ever even fought someone on your own level? He asks. Maxim snaps. Don't look down on me, he screams. I'm not weaker than those other guys. But Randolph doesn't care. You're weak, he says, stepping in and slicing him open. He cuts him in two, again and again, relentlessly carving him up. Only a tiny, mangled piece is left. Maxim is frozen. Randolph smiles, he found it. The demonic heart. Maxim panics, desperate to regenerate his body right now. But Randolph impales the heart on his blade. Is this all you get for selling your soul? Maxim instantly begs for his life. Wait, I lose, please stop, he whimpers. He apologizes for betraying the expedition, claiming he was just terrified of losing his power. You spent so much time on a hopeless game, Maxim cries. You must have been a nobody. In the real world, you were a loser. You should understand how I feel. Randolph stares down coldly. You've gone way too far to ever be forgiven. You've taken too many lives. Maxim screams back that they're just NPCs, not real players. Randolph shakes his head. They're just like us. They feel real pain and sadness. We both entered this world as players. We both know they aren't just NPCs. Now it is finally time for Maxim to pay for his crimes with his life. The system warns him, break that heart, and all his abilities vanish forever. He refuses to go back to being a pathetic insect, but Randolph swings his sword anyway. Pure terror and immense pain fill Maxim's eyes as his body is cleanly split in half. Randolph earns the Demon Hunter achievement and loots the rare scale fragment. His Iron Blood Monarch trait evolves, becoming the heart of the Eternal Monarch. And the mission is complete.